Sword of Pharaoh Ramses II. Archaeologists are increasingly making discoveries in northern Egypt. Recently, a sword of Pharaoh Ramses II was discovered there. Excavations were conducted in the Buhera confirms the importance of the El Abqain fort as a key point of the Egyptian army. The sword found is made of bronze and has a cartouche with the name of Ramses II. Weapons, amulets, hygiene products, and the burial of a cow were also found. Ramses II, who reigned for more than 60 years, is considered one of the greatest pharaohs of Egypt. The mysterious Pictish ring. A surprising find has recently been discovered on the coast of Scotland, a ring that is about 1,000 years old. But it was not a professional archaeologist who found it, but a 68-year-old former engineer, John Ralph, who was simply looking for something to do in retirement. Having joined the excavations at Berghead, John enthusiastically began participating in the project, where he has already worked on 3 different sites. The excavation site is a former settlement of the Picts, one of the most important peoples of Scotland, who existed from 500 to 1000 AD. At first, John found only stones and other small items that experts did not consider particularly valuable. But one day, while cleaning the floor of an ancient building, he noticed a metal pin, and next to it, the very ring. Despite being in the ground for thousands of years, the ring still sparkled, and even its details were visible. The Picts, known as the Painted Ones because of their tattoos, were powerful warriors who successfully resisted the invasions of the Romans and the Angles. They played a key role in the formation of Scotland, but by the end of the first millennium, they suddenly disappeared from history, merging with another people, the Gaels. Therefore, the discovered ring is not just a decoration, but an important historical artifact that can shed light on the mysterious culture of the Picts. Oldest burial site in Malaysia. Archaeologists have discovered more than a dozen ancient burial sites in Malaysia that are up to 16,000 years old. The finds were made in the Ninggiri Valley about 215 kilometers north of Kuala Lumpur. These caves may soon be flooded to create a reservoir for a hydroelectric dam planned for 2027. If this happens, 20 square miles of land will be underwater. Most of the skeletons found belong to the pre-Neolithic culture of the region. Some scientists associate this culture with the Hoa Bin hunter-gatherers, known for their distinctive stone tools found throughout Southeast Asia. They are also believed to have used wild plants, many of which became the basis for the region's modern flora. Archaeologists found 16 skeletons in 13 caves at 4 different sites. Most of them were buried in a squatting position, which is typical of the pre-Neolithic period. However, one of the skeletons was buried in an extended position and is approximately 6,000 years old. In addition to the skeletons, over 7,1000 artifacts were discovered, including stone tools, pottery, and jewelry. One of the key finds was a complete human skeleton in the Gua Keladung Ketchel Cave, which is approximately 14,000,016,000 years old. It is the oldest and most complete skeleton ever found in Malaysia. The burial items included stone tools, crystals, and hematite minerals. The Sultan's Treasure. The Hell's Well, or Barhuda Hole, is a mysterious sinkhole in Yemen surrounded by legends and myths. Locals believe that the Sultan's treasure was at the bottom of the well, guarded by genies and the dead, and that a graveyard smell emanated from there. Scientific research has confirmed some of these legends. Speleologists finally decided to explore the sinkhole, taking samples from its bottom. The sinkhole is cone-shaped. Its diameter at the surface is about 30 meters and widens to 120 meters at the bottom. The depth of the well is 112 meters. The upper layer is porous, allowing water to pass through, and below the layer becomes denser and impermeable, which leads to the formation of 4 waterfalls and stalagmites. The Sultan's treasure turned out to be cave pearls, rare formations of calcium carbonate that form around a grain of sand or a piece of wood. In Barkit, they are emerald golden in color, which probably misled ancient observers. Snakes and arthropods live at the bottom of the funnel. The grave smell described by locals is caused by the decomposing bodies of animals, mainly birds, which fly into the well in search of shelter from the heat. Having sunk to the bottom, they cannot fly back up because of the great depth. There are 2 main hypotheses about the origin of the well. The first is that it is a former crater of an underground volcano that has long since died out. The second is that it is a natural well formed by the leaching of underground layers of water over millions of years. Most likely, the Barket well was formed in the second way, which explains its unusual structure and content. Hobbit remains. Thorin, as archaeologists have nicknamed him, lived about 50,000 years ago at a time when the last Neanderthals were disappearing from the face of the earth. His remains were found in a cave in the south of France, where he probably hid from the bitter cold. In 2015, archaeologists discovered a well-preserved fossilized jaw with 31 teeth and finger bones. Interestingly, Thorin's teeth, despite being worn down from active chewing, were in good condition. Analysis showed that he was an adult male, probably quite young, since Neanderthals lived on average about 20 years. The most striking thing was the genetic study. Thorin's DNA was very different from all known Neanderthal samples. This indicates an isolated population that separated from the rest of the Neanderthals about 105,000 years ago. It is curious that just 10 days' walk from this cave there lived another community of Neanderthals, but judging by the analysis, they did not communicate. Researchers speculate on how Neanderthals perceived the world and why they were so isolated. Uncommunication was their characteristic feature. At the time of their existence, there were about 10,000 Neanderthals in the world, and over hundreds of thousands of years they became unsociable. They had a high inbreeding rate, which is confirmed by many congenital anomalies. Finding one of the last Neanderthals is a huge success. Isotopes in the bones confirm that Thorin lived in the harsh climate of the Ice Age. Scientists are still arguing about why the Neanderthals disappeared because of the harsh climate or competition with the Cro-Magnons. Anthropologists believe that climate was not a decisive factor because the Ice Ages began long before their disappearance. Probably the more developed Cro-Magnons displaced them. Cro-Magnons were not against interbreeding, and the genome of modern humans contains an admixture of Neanderthals, while no traces of sapiens have been found in Neanderthals. Interestingly, a fragment of bone with a scratched picture, possibly depicting a mammoth, was recently found in the Bryansk region in Russia. This is a rare example that indicates the presence of fine art among Neanderthals, while Cro-Magnons left many works. A bearded European in ancient China. Archaeologists in China have discovered a unique Tang Dynasty tomb decorated with colorful murals that shed light on daily life in the 8th century. Of particular interest is the depiction of a fair-haired bearded man believed to be of European descent. The tomb was discovered in 2018 during a road renovation in Shaanxi province, but details of the excavations have only recently become known. The walls are decorated with scenes from life done in the style of figures under trees. They depict daily activities: women pounding grain, men making noodles, collecting water, and processing rice. The tomb belonged to a man who died in 736 CE at the age of 63, and his wife. Almost all the figures are depicted as ethnic Chinese, with the exception of one man with fair hair and a beard. History professor Victor Xiong believes that he was a Sogdian, a Central Asian who was probably active on the Silk Road trade routes. The frescoes occupy the entire tomb except the floor and are executed in a style typical of the Tang Dynasty. Clear outlines, simple shading, and two-dimensional images. In addition to the wall paintings, the gate, corridor, and pedestal were decorated. The roof of the dome is distinguished by a dragon design. The presence of a Western man adds mystery to the familiar picture of the lives of nobles of that time. The disappearance of the ancient civilization. 900 years ago, one of the world's largest civilizations, Cahokia, disappeared. New research has challenged the old theory that drought and crop failure were the cause. The Cahokia Mounds, located near modern-day St. Louis, were a thriving settlement with a population of about 5,000 people. By 1400, the site was deserted, and the reasons for the mass exodus remain a mystery to archaeologists. Archaeologists analyzed the soil of Cahokia, studying the carbon isotopes left behind by plants that grew during the mass exodus. The results showed that the ratio of carbon-12 to carbon-13 remained stable. This indicates that there were no significant changes in the local vegetation and does not support the version of crop failure. It is known that the inhabitants of Cahokia were inventive and may have had the skills to irrigate and store crops. They also had a varied diet, including fish, birds, deer, fruits, and nuts, which would have ensured their survival even if some food sources were lost. So why did they abandon Cahokia? Archaeologists suspect it was a long process caused by external factors. To better understand why, scientists plan to create a database of paleobotanical evidence and conduct experiments with growing ancient crops in controlled conditions. Ancient hater. In Russia, in Veliki Novgorod, archaeologists have discovered a birch bark letter in which the author advises the addressee to hang themselves. Russian scientists have studied the finds made this season in the Novgorod region. Among them, a small letter with one word stands out. A certain Prokosha laconically wrote, "Hang yourself," in a letter to Nietzsche. Apparently, even then, there were some kind of remote haters. Unfortunately, the beginning and end of this correspondence have not yet been found. Most of the found artifacts date back to the 12th century. However, not all the letters were so rude. In one of them, the scribe Roshka politely addressed Stepan with a request. Another letter mentions a water test. The accused was thrown into the water, and he was considered guilty if the water did not accept him. Melting glaciers will cause a new pandemic. Researchers at Ohio State University have made an incredible discovery, finding more than 1,700 previously unknown viruses in an ice core extracted from the Gulia Glacier on the Tibetan Plateau. The ice core was drilled more than 300 meters deep and divided into 9 segments, each covering different time horizons and climate periods. The segments range in age from 160 to 41000 years. Using metagenomic analysis, the scientists were able to identify viral strains, collecting 50 times more virus data than was previously known. They found that viral communities varied significantly depending on the climate conditions during their preservation in the ice. This discovery raises concerns that as glaciers melt, pathogens capable of causing deadly pandemics could be released. Immediately after the study was published, rapper Chris Bridges posted a video of himself drinking meltwater from a glacier in Alaska. The video quickly racked up millions of views, raising concerns that he was putting himself at risk by drinking untreated glacial water. However, glaciologists have assured that water from melted glaciers is generally safe and is considered the cleanest water you can get. However, scientists warn of a real threat of new pandemics due to the release of ancient viruses. An example is the 2016 anthrax outbreak when spores were released from melting permafrost. Fortunately, the viruses found in Gulia Glacier are not dangerous to humans and are only capable of infecting archaea and bacteria. Honey in Africa. Honey is humanity's oldest sweetener, and for thousands of years it was the only one. Petroglyphs dating back 8,000 to 4,000 years have been found on various continents, hinting at the importance of bees and their products. Ancient Egyptian reliefs show evidence of beekeeping as early as 2600 BC. However, until recently, there was no direct archaeological evidence of honey collection in sub-Saharan Africa. A study of chemical food residues on pottery shards has changed this idea. Archaeologists from Goethe University, working with chemists from the University of Bristol, have discovered traces of beeswax in 3,500-year-old pottery shards belonging to the Nok culture. This culture, which existed in central Nigeria from 1500 BC to the beginning of the Common Era, is known for its terracotta sculptures, the oldest figurative sculpture in Africa. The researchers wanted to understand whether the Nok people domesticated animals or were hunters. However, in the acidic soil conditions typical of the Nok region, animal bones do not survive. So the scientists turned to the analysis of molecular food residues in the pottery. Plant and animal products leave stable chemical compounds, especially lipids, in the pores of clay vessels. Using gas chromatography, these compounds can be detected after thousands of years. The study revealed not only the remains of wild animals, but also components indicating the presence of honeybees. About a third of the examined pottery shards contained high molecular lipids typical of beeswax. This is the first direct evidence of honey use in Africa. It is not yet possible to determine exactly how honey was used. It is possible that the Nok people separated honey from wax by heating. They may also have used honey for cooking, making mead, or for technical and medicinal purposes. It is possible that the clay vessels served as beehives, as is still practiced by some African peoples. Ancient multiplication table. Archaeologists have discovered a fragment of a wooden tablet with one of the oldest multiplication tables in Japan in the ruins of the Fujiwara Palace in the Japanese prefecture of Nara. The age of the find is about 1,300 years. The ruins of the Fujiwara Palace are the remains of an ancient capital that existed until 710, when the capital moved to Nara. The tablet was found at the site of what is believed to be the Amonfu guard post in the Fujiwara government. The size of the find is 16.2 centimeters by 1.2 centimeters. Researchers believe that it was part of a more complete multiplication table, which dates back to the late 7th or early 8th century. Even then, such tables were used in government agencies. Using infrared analysis, the following equations were deciphered from the tablet. All the inscriptions are written in kanji, Chinese characters that are also used in modern Japanese. The multiplication table begins with multiplication by 9 and contains 5 equations written horizontally in one line. If the tablet were intact, its length would be about 33 centimeters. This 5-line writing style corresponds to Chinese styles from the Qin and Han dynasties. The tablet was likely used by the Amonfu office, which was responsible for security and administrative tasks, including counting workdays and taxes. Secrets of the Underworld of Agartha. The legend of the underground world of Agartha has always attracted the attention of those who sought hidden knowledge and secret civilizations. The Nazis showed great interest in the myth of Agartha, a supposedly deep underground state inhabited by an advanced civilization with mystical knowledge and advanced technology. It was believed that the inhabitants of Agartha could possess the secrets of immortality, energy, and world control, which interested the Nazi elite. Some Nazi ideologists saw in Agartha not only a source of ancient knowledge, but also a possible refuge for the elite of the Third Reich in the event of defeat on the surface. According to the theory, this underground world could provide a reliable shelter and create conditions for the revival of Nazi power. Legends claim that the entrance to Agartha was hidden somewhere in the Himalayas or other hard-to-reach regions of the Earth. Ananirba researchers obsessed with finding Aryan roots and ancient civilizations organized expeditions to different parts of the world, including Tibet and Antarctica, in search of an entrance to the underworld. Despite the lack of concrete evidence of Agartha's existence, the Nazis continued to fund these projects, hoping to gain access to mystical knowledge that could change the course of the war and increase their influence. The Voynich manuscript again. American medievalists have used multispectral scanning to discover how a 17th century Prague physician attempted to decipher the mysterious Voynich manuscript. Scientists use multispectral analysis to study the manuscript, obtaining images that are inaccessible to conventional research. This technology can reveal erased or faded texts, as iron-based ink can fluoresce under ultraviolet light. Historian Lisa Fagan Davis recently analyzed these images and discovered vertical columns of symbols on one of the pages. The first column contained the classic Latin alphabet of 23 letters, the second contained symbols from the manuscript's unknown alphabet, and the third contained Latin shifted by one character. This table looks like an attempt to decipher the text using the symbol substitution method common in the Middle Ages and the New Age. A comparison of the handwriting of the manuscript's known owners showed that the table was compiled by Johannes Marcus Marci, a scientist and court physician. He owned the book from 1662 to 1665 and attempted to decipher the manuscript, as did his predecessors and followers. Multispectral analysis also confirmed that the manuscript was not a palimpsest, and carbon-14 analysis correctly dated it to 1425. Vampire Child. Workers cleaning up near a historic cathedral in Chelm, Poland, found the remains of 2 children in a shallow pit. The Polish Culture Ministry said the site was not marked as a cemetery. One of the skeletons showed signs of an anti-vampire burial. The child's head had been severed from the body and placed face down on a rock. This is consistent with ancient burial practices used to prevent those believed to be demonic beings from coming back to life. The skeletons are believed to date back to the early Middle Ages. The remains have been removed and are awaiting further study. The discovery is another example of practices used to protect against vampires or other supernatural entities. In 2022, Polish researchers found the remains of a woman with a sickle around her neck and a triangular lock on her leg in the village of Pin. The lock was believed to keep the vampire in the grave, and the sickle was supposed to cut off the head if the body tried to get up. Such practices were common in the 17th century due to the vampire epidemic. In 2013, 6 vampire skeletons were found in a cemetery in northwestern Poland, each with a sickle around their neck or a stone under their jaw. Board game will rewrite history. The ancient board game, Dogs and Jackals, or 58 Holes, has long been thought to be of Egyptian origin. However, a new study published in the European Journal of Archaeology suggests that a version of the game found in what is now Azerbaijan may be older, suggesting it may have Asian roots. Archaeological finds confirm the existence of many ancient board games. Last year, a 4,000-year-old board was discovered in the Kumaira Valley in Oman that may have been a precursor to the royal game of an early version of backgammon. In 2022, a 500-year-old board of the game mill, previously played in Egypt and Rome, was found in the ruins of Chmielo Castle in Poland. The latest find, the Dogs and Jackals board, has been known to scientists since 1890. About 60 examples have been found in Egypt, Mesopotamia, Israel, Syria, Iran, and Azerbaijan. The board has 2 parallel tracks of 29 holes using 10 sticks with the heads of jackals or dogs. The goal of the game is to move all of your pieces from the starting point to the finishing point before your opponent. Previously, the oldest version was thought to date from 2064 to 1952 BC during the reign of Mentuhotep II, indicating an Egyptian origin for the game. However, in 2018, archaeologist Walter Christ discovered a new version of the board in Gobustan, Azerbaijan, indicating an earlier date for the game and potentially rewriting the origin story of the board game. 6 more boards have been found in Agdashduzu, Yeni Turkin, and Dubindi. Pottery found in the game suggests that shepherds played the game while waiting for winter to end. Researchers caution that it is difficult to accurately date this period and are hesitant to attribute the game to a specific culture. Eyeliner. During excavations at the Yesilova Hoyuk burial mound in Izmir, archaeologists have discovered a beautifully preserved eyeliner tool made of stone. This unique artifact, which is over 8,200 years old, may be the oldest of its kind. The discovery opens up new horizons in understanding the lives of early Aegean settlers of the Neolithic era. Yesilova Hoyuk, located in the Bornova district, is considered the oldest prehistoric settlement in the Izmir region. Unlike central Anatolia, where houses were closely spaced, the inhabitants of Izmir preferred to live in separate dwellings. The discovered artifact resembles a stone pencil used to apply eyeliner. Its tip contains traces of black paint, presumably manganese oxide, a popular ingredient in ancient eyeliner. This 9.5 centimeters long stone applicator is the oldest of its kind. This tool demonstrates that Aegean women 8,200 years ago already paid attention to their appearance. Disappearance of the gold reserve. One of the most intriguing mysteries of World War II is the mysterious disappearance of the Third Reich's gold reserves. In the final days of Nazi Germany, when defeat was inevitable, the leadership of the Third Reich actively exported gold, jewelry, and other valuables, trying to hide them from the advancing troops of the Soviet Army and their allies. There are numerous accounts of huge amounts of gold and other treasures being hidden in various places throughout Europe, including abandoned mines, mountain fortresses, and underground bunkers. However, most of these treasures have never been found, which has given rise to many legends and theories. Some of them claim that the Nazis used ancient magical rituals and occult knowledge to protect their treasures. According to these theories, the riches were not simply hidden, but surrounded by magical barriers or protective spells, making them inaccessible to outsiders. One of the most famous cases is the story of the Lake Toplitz gold in Austria. Legend has it that the Nazis dumped containers of gold at the bottom of this hard-to-reach mountain lake, and the search for these treasures continues to this day. Castles and bunkers in Bavaria and the Czech Republic are also mentioned, where other valuables could have been hidden. Despite decades of searching, the bulk of the Third Reich's gold reserves have still not been found, and the controversy surrounding its location continues to excite history buffs and treasure hunters. Took the weapon to the grave. While excavating an ancient burial site in Ostrowiec County, Poland, archaeologists discovered 2 graves that likely belonged to Vandal warriors. The cemetery, located near the town of Glinka, dates back to the 3rd to 4th centuries AD and is part of a larger site associated with the Przeworsk culture. a group that flourished in central and southern Poland during the Iron Age. The team excavated pit graves containing cremated remains and evidence of burial hearths. The graves are thought to be associated with the Vandals, a Germanic tribe that once inhabited part of what is now southern Poland. Known for their conflict with the Roman Empire, the Vandals eventually created a kingdom that spanned parts of North Africa and several Mediterranean islands. In 455 AD, under the leadership of King Gaiseric, they carried out the famous sack of Rome, hastening the fall of the Roman Empire. Along with the remains, archaeologists found weapons and grave goods that indicate high-ranking warriors, including swords, shield fragments, iron spearheads, and pieces of baked clay vessels. Burn marks on these objects indicate that they were burned on a pyre along with the bodies as part of a burial ritual. Interestingly, both swords found in the graves were bent, a common practice in the Przeworsk culture. This could symbolize the warriors taking their weapons to the afterlife, or perhaps the swords were deformed to make the weapons unusable and thus deter potential grave robbers. The origin of the silver vessel. It took scientists 10 years to discover the origin of a unique silver vessel that is part of the Galloway hoard. It turned out that the artifact had traveled from Western Asia to Scotland. The discovery has added intrigue to one of the most important archaeological finds in the UK. The Galloway hoard was found in southern Scotland in 2014 by treasure hunter Derek McLennan. The treasure included a silver vessel wrapped in ancient cloth. Now, researchers have confirmed that the vessel was made in what is now central Iran and was transported across vast distances to Scotland more than 1,000 years ago. Inside the vessel, they found valuables such as silk and brooches. Laser cleaning of the vessel revealed intricate patterns characteristic of Zoroastrianism, the state religion of the Sassanids, the last Persian empire before the Muslim conquest. The entire hoard weighed more than 5 kilograms and included silver, gold, and other valuable materials. It was found on Church of Scotland land near Balmahy. The artifact has been dated to around 900 AD and will be shown for the first time in the Silk Roads exhibition at the British Museum in London. Other items from the hoard will be on display at the National Museum of Scotland and the Kirkcudbright galleries. Its inclusion is significant, particularly as it is the earliest recorded silk in Scotland. Time of troubles in Russia. The eruption of the Huayna Putina volcano in Peru on February 19, 1600, influenced one of the darkest periods in Russian history, the Time of Troubles. This period coincided with the Little Ice Age, when solar activity decreased and the Gulf Stream changed. However, the decisive role in climate change was played by the volcanic eruption, which threw a huge amount of ash into the atmosphere, which led to a sharp, cold snap. The summer of 1601 in Russia was abnormally cold and rainy, which is why the harvest did not ripen. Frost hit unusually early, destroying crops. The next 2 years were just as harsh. Torrential rains and snow fell in the summer. The price of bread increased 18 times, which led to famine and mass deaths. In 1604 in Moscow, even in the summer, people traveled by sleigh and bread cost 25 times more than in well-fed times. Tsar Boris Godunov tried to cope with the crisis by banning speculation in grain and organizing its free distribution. However, the rich kept grain stocks, ignoring the Tsar's decrees. Godunov also tried to ease the situation of the peasants by allowing them to leave the lands of their masters, but the nobility resisted this. The peasants began to blame the Tsar, seeing God's punishment in the disasters. Popular unrest intensified. In 1605, Boris Godunov died under mysterious circumstances, and his son Fyodor took the throne. However, Fyodor and his mother were soon killed, which led to the Time of Troubles. It ended only in 1613 when Mikhail Romanov, the founder of a new dynasty, ascended the throne. This is how a volcanic eruption in South America affected a country that was thousands of kilometers away, and created a terrible crisis and famine for several years. Golden tongues and images of the gods. Archaeologists from Egypt's Ministry of Tourism and Antiquities have uncovered an astonishing collection of artifacts during excavations at Tel el-Deir. The site has enriched Egypt's history with 63 mud brick tombs and other simple burials. The team uncovered a variety of artifacts, including gold foil pieces depicting gods such as Isis, Bastet, and Horus, as well as protective symbols and languages that allowed the deceased to speak before the court of Osiris in the afterlife. These foil fragments stand out for their craftsmanship and the variety of materials used. Numerous funerary offerings were also found, including amulets, ushabti statues, figurines, coins, and a mirror, illustrating the burial customs of the 26th dynasty. Among the finds was a ceramic vessel containing 38 bronze coins from the Ptolemaic era depicting the head of Zeus Ammon. These coins, dated to the late 3rd century BC, may have been buried during a major revolt against the Ptolemaic dynasty around 206 BC. The oldest alphabet has been deciphered. Since 1964, archaeologists have discovered 15 tablets with mysterious carvings at an ancient settlement site in Jordan. Recent analysis has shown that the tablets were likely created by the Canaanites, an ancient Semitic people who lived in what is now Israel, Palestine, Lebanon, and parts of Jordan and Syria. Research has revealed that the tablets contain 29 unique symbols written from left to right. These symbols include dots, vertical stripes, and abstract designs. Scientists believe that the inscriptions are cult proverbs associated with a religious temple. Some signs, such as a symbol resembling an eye, have been identified as ayin, which means eye in Hebrew. These parallels have helped begin the decipherment. The Canaanites inhabited Canaan from 3500 to 1200 BC until they were conquered by the Israelite tribes. They are mentioned in the Old Testament. Interestingly, the Canaanite alphabet became the basis for the Phoenician script, which in turn influenced the Greek and Latin alphabets. Fabric dyed with insects. Scientists have examined fragments of dyed fabric found in the Israeli Skulls Cave. These pieces of textiles date back to the Middle Bronze Age. The scientists' research has shown that the dye for the fabric was made from dried insects, Mediterranean kermes. Even in ancient times, people learned to make paints from living creatures. In the Mediterranean, the most expensive dye was purple, obtained from the secretion of the glands of sea mollusks. Another valuable red dye was made from dried female scale insects, such as the Mediterranean kermes, which live on oak trees. Written evidence of the use of such dyes is found in cuneiform texts from the Nutsi archive and the Old Testament. Archaeologists have also found kermes in Neolithic vessels in France, although they were most likely used for magical or medicinal purposes. The earliest fragments of textiles dyed with kermes come from ancient salt mines in Austria from 1400–400 BC. Kermes was also used to dye the legendary Pazyryk carpet in Altai. Beer Quarry Cave. This Roman quarry was once a refuge for smugglers and is now home to rare species of bat. The beer stone quarried here was an important building material in Roman times. 2,000 years of quarrying has created a winding system of caves near the village of Beer, which gives the stone its name. The first Romans to arrive in Devon noticed the limestone cliffs at the mouth of the River Exe. They discovered veins of fine-grained limestone and began quarrying it. When the surface supply was exhausted, the Romans dug deeper into the cliffs, quarrying the stone with picks and wooden wedges. The stone was used to build important public buildings. The stone was transported to the river and shipped out by boat. After the Romans left, the quarries were used by the Saxons. Their quarries had sharp, square corners, as opposed to the rounded Roman ones. Beer stone was easy to work but hardened in the air, becoming stronger. It was cut on site and used to build buildings such as Windsor Castle, London Bridge, and Westminster Abbey. The stone was also used in the construction of Christ Church Cathedral in St. Louis, USA. After the Protestant Reformation, Catholics held secret masses in these caves. In the early 19th century, smugglers, including Jack Rattenbury, used the caves to hide contraband from ships. Mining ceased in the early 20th century when a new site was discovered. These caves are now of particular scientific interest due to the rare bats that inhabit them. The painful death of the Screaming Woman. In 1935, a mysterious mummy was found near Luxor, Egypt, dubbed the Screaming Woman because of her horrific open-mouthed expression. Scientists believe that the woman may have died from extreme pain leading to cadaveric spasm, which fixed her face in a scream. The mummy was discovered by an archaeological expedition from the Metropolitan Museum of Art in New York City in the tomb of Sinmut, the chief architect of Queen Hatshepsut. The tomb also contained a burial chamber for his mother and other relatives. Despite the rich burial, the identity of the Screaming Woman and the reason for her facial expressions remained a mystery for almost a century. Archaeologists conducted a detailed study of the mummy using CT scanning and infrared photography. A virtual autopsy revealed that the woman was about 48 years old, stood about 150 centimeters tall, and suffered from mild arthritis. Remarkably, her internal organs, such as her brain, heart, and lungs, were intact, which was not consistent with the usual mummification practices of the New Kingdom. Her burial included a black wig made of date palm fibers treated with minerals and 2 rings with jasper scarabs, indicating her high social status. Dr. Salem suggested that her facial expression may have been the result of cadaveric spasm, a rare condition in which muscles used heavily before death freeze, indicating possible suffering or extreme stress. The embalmers mummified her body before it began to decompose or relax, keeping her mouth open. The Chinese have tried an ancient drink. A tightly sealed bronze vessel was found in an ancient tomb in the Chinese province of Shanxi. Researchers found about 300 milliliters of liquid in it, which is the remains of a fermented alcoholic drink that is about 2,300 years old. 2 people who tried this liquid noted its metallic taste. People learned to make fermented drinks in ancient times. The earliest evidence of this was found in the Raqefet cave in Israel, where beer was made from cereals about 13,000 years ago. In the Neolithic era, alcoholic drinks began to be produced in the Middle East and China using millet and rice. In a bronze vessel 30.4 centimeters high and 21.6 centimeters in diameter, they found 300 milliliters of clear liquid, or rather a fermented alcoholic drink that was used as a funeral offering. The researchers found 4 types of starch granules in the liquid: millet, foxtail millet, Job's tears, legumes, wheat, barley, and rice. They also identified organisms involved in fermentation, including Aspergillus molds and baker's yeast. The scientists believe the drink resembled modern yellow wine, Huangju. Ancient Roman sarcophagus instead of a table. A tourist accidentally found an ancient Roman sarcophagus on a beach in Bulgaria dating back to the 2nd or 3rd century AD. The find was discovered on the beach near the resort of Saints Constantine and Helena, 8 kilometers from Varna. The sarcophagus is decorated with reliefs with garlands and animal heads, typical of the Roman era. The Varna Archaeological Museum and the Ministry of Culture immediately began studying the find. Preliminary data indicate that the sarcophagus was used as a table in recent times. The modern marble lid and traces of facade paint confirm this. The sarcophagus, measuring 90 x 235 by 75 centimeters, was found near a closed complex. It is currently being cleaned of paint to reveal the original paintwork and techniques used in its creation. Restorer Milan Marinov from the Varna Historical Museum hopes to confirm the authenticity of the artifact. A detailed analysis will help determine whether this is a real Roman relic or a modern imitation. Palm Scroll. In 1938, an amazing discovery was made in India. Ancient palm scrolls containing extensive knowledge about medicine, astronomy, and other sciences. These scrolls are over 4,000 years old, making them one of the oldest libraries in the world. The contents of the scrolls are striking in their diversity. From medical treatises describing the treatment of various diseases to astronomical records detailing the movements of planets and stars. These scrolls represent an invaluable cultural heritage that provides a window into the world of ancient knowledge and practices. They confirm the high level of development of science and medicine in ancient India. Of particular interest is the technique of their creation and preservation. Palm leaves, carefully processed and recorded, could store information for thousands of years. Bosnian pyramids. Mysterious structures have been discovered in Bosnia that, according to some researchers, may be ancient structures dating back about 12,000 years. These massive formations first came to the attention of archaeologists and enthusiasts in the early 2000s when they were pointed out by Bosnian archaeologist and businessman Samir Osmanagic. He claims that the pyramids were created by an ancient civilization and are much older than the known pyramids in Egypt. The complex consists of several pyramidal structures, including the Pyramid of the Sun, Moon, and Dragon. The Pyramid of the Sun is the largest and reaches a height of about 220 meters, making it one of the tallest pyramids in the world. Osmanagic and his team conducted extensive research, including ground-penetrating radar scans and excavations, claiming to have discovered traces of ancient tunnels and stone blocks that indicate the pyramids were man-made. However, not all scientists agree with this point of view. Many geologists and archaeologists argue that these structures are natural formations formed as a result of geological processes. They indicate that the geological structure of the region and the shape of the pyramids can be explained by natural forces such as erosion and tectonic movements. They remain one of the most mysterious and debated finds in modern archaeology. Pluto Gate. In 2013, an amazing discovery was made in Turkey, an ancient sanctuary also known as the Gateway to Hell. This mystical place has attracted the attention of archaeologists for its deadly fumes, killing all animals that approach them. The discovery was made in the ancient city of Hierapolis, located in the modern province of Denizli. Pluto's Gate was dedicated to the ancient Roman god of the underworld, Pluto. They were a cave from which poisonous gases emanated. These fumes contain a high concentration of carbon dioxide, which makes the air lethal to any living beings. The priests of the ancient sanctuary demonstrated the power of the gods by leading the animals to the gate, where they instantly died from the poisonous gas. Archaeologists have determined that high concentrations of carbon dioxide came from deep fissures in the ground running underneath the sanctuary. The gas reaches the surface and accumulates in the cave, creating a deadly atmosphere. This natural phenomenon was known to the ancient Romans and was used for ritual purposes. The discovery of Pluto's Gate not only revealed the secrets of the ancient sanctuary, but also demonstrated how natural phenomena could be used in the religious rituals of antiquity. Tomb with unique frescoes. Amazing murals depicting daily life in the 8th century have been found in a small Tang-era tomb in northern China. Frescoes dating back to 736 cover all the walls of the tomb except the floor and depict scenes from life in the Tang dynasty. The tomb belonged to a man who died at the age of 63. The paintings are done in the style of the Tang era, using strong outlines and simple shading, and appear mostly two-dimensional. This style, called figures under the tree, was popular in Taiyuan, the capital of Shaanxi province. The gate, corridor, and pedestal of the tomb are also decorated with frescoes. There are guards depicted on the outside of the gate. The frescoes do not depict famous historical periods or important people. In one scene, people perform everyday tasks, such as grinding grain or drawing water from a well. Another shows a woman with horses and a man with a whip, presumably from a non-Han ethnic group. The figures in the frescoes resemble the same man and woman, leading archaeologists to speculate that they were the owners of the tomb. Tutankhamun of Kazakhstan. In 1969, a burial site of a man in golden armor was found in Kazakhstan, which became a symbol of the country. Scientists, carried away by 4,000 artifacts, forgot about the remains themselves. The golden armor of a warrior from the 5th century BC, known as the Golden Man, became a symbol of Kazakhstan's independence. It was found in a tomb of the Saka tribe near the settlement of Issyk, 60 kilometers east of Almaty. During excavations, archaeologists discovered remains with gold-decorated armor and many other valuable artifacts. The burial, found by a farmer preparing the land for sowing, remained untouched despite the looting of the main tomb. In a sarcophagus made of spruce logs lay a skeleton decorated with 4,000 gold ornaments. This discovery amazed scientists so much that the human remains initially received less attention. The Golden Man, dubbed the Kazakhstan Tutankhamun, is thought to be an 18-year-old Saka warrior wearing a costume made up of thousands of gold ornaments, including a shirt, boots, and headdress. The costume features animal motifs and a 70 centimeter tall headdress with arrows, snow leopards, and mythical creatures. Archaeologist Janine Davis Kimball has suggested that the remains may be those of a female priestess, citing artifacts found nearby such as a mirror and necklace. In her book, Warrior Women, she theorizes that the Golden Man may have been a woman. The poor condition of the bones after 50 years of exposure to bacteria and viruses makes analysis difficult, but the possibility that the Golden Man was a woman remains open. Regardless of gender, the craftsmanship of the costume is astounding. Diver finds rarest treasure. Back in 1715, 11 ships left the port of Cuba and headed for Europe with treasures. However, a hurricane off the east coast of Florida sank the ships and 1,500 sailors died. Gitschlag, his business partner Mike Penninger, as well as Nick Emilio and Corinna Leah, discovered more than 200 silver coins on the seabed. The value of the find, depending on the condition of the coins, can range from $12,000 to $130,000. When exploring sunken ships, the team often finds ceramic and metal fragments, but coins are a rarity. Silver coins can become corroded after hundreds of years in the water, but piastres are easy to recognize. The treasure was found among the wreckage of one of the two flagships. Gitschlag believes that the coins could have been minted in Mexico City. The treasure has not yet been assessed, but the main part will go to museums and only a small part will be put up for sale. Medieval astronaut. In 1993, European and American magazines published sensational news. An image of an astronaut was discovered among the stone carvings of the Salamanca Cathedral, Spain. Construction of the cathedral began in 1513 and was completed in 1733. Journalists and readers actively discussed how people in the 18th century could have learned about the existence of spacesuits. A variety of theories were proposed, from the artist's foresight to a visit from aliens. However, enthusiasts were in for a surprise. The astronaut figure turned out to be an ordinary prank. There is a tradition among European stone carvers to add new details during the restoration of buildings. In 1992, during the restoration of the cathedral, a stone carver named Geronimo Garcia, with the unofficial permission of the church leadership, added several new figures to the facade, including an astronaut. This tradition revives historical buildings and adds a modern touch to them. The Salamanca case reminds us that past and present can be surprisingly intertwined, and restorers often leave their mark on future generations. Mysterious accessory from the future. Archaeologists have discovered wall carvings depicting objects similar to modern handbags. Some of these images are about 12,000 years old. The earliest were found in Turkey in the ruins of the megalithic temple of Göbekli Tepe, where strange images are engraved on the columns of the ancient temple. Similar motifs have been discovered in Mexico, Iraq, and South America, raising many questions about the possible use of such objects by ancient civilizations. Although the images resemble handbags or clutches, experts believe the ancient ruins are more likely to depict baskets. Some believe that the concept of a handbag may have been invented by ancient civilizations. The first modern bag appeared in 1841 in England, created by Samuel Parkinson. The problem is that the Göbekli Tepe temple was built in 9000 BC, and its builders could hardly have known about such an accessory. Another ancient example of a handbag was found in ancient Egyptian hieroglyphs written about 5,000 years ago, where the gods hold a small square object symbolizing prosperity. Archaeologists have indeed found remains of baskets and tool bags used by the ancient Egyptians, but they cannot yet say for sure what is depicted in the hieroglyphs. Similar discoveries were made in Iraq, among the ruins of an Assyrian palace built between 883 and 859 BC, which depicts a genie with wings holding what appears to be a handbag. Historian David Miano believes that these figures, called Apkallu, were minor deities who carried water buckets made from sacred date palms rather than purses. Ancient buckets similar to the engravings were actually found in Iraq. Similar motifs have also been found in Mexico among Toltec ruins, where giant statues hold objects resembling handbags. These statues were created around 750 AD. Traces of a disappeared culture. Venezuelan archaeologists have discovered 20 new sites with rock art dating back thousands of years. These drawings, found in Canaima National Park, belong to a previously unknown culture. The red pigment designs include geometric motifs such as dots, crosses, stars, and lines, as well as stylized images of leaves and human figures. Some images are carved into stone, making them petroglyphs. The purpose of these drawings remains a mystery. They could be associated with birth, illness, renewal of nature, or hunting. Rock art sites were probably important because of their location, just as the sites of churches and mosques are to us today. The exact age of the drawings is still unknown, but they are believed to be about 4,000 years old, similar to similar drawings in Brazil. However, scientists believe that the Venezuelan finds may be more ancient. Canaima National Park is a huge area of forests and parks the size of Belgium. One of its most famous attractions is Angel Falls, the tallest waterfall in the world. Researchers speculate that the park may have been the center of the emergence of this mysterious culture, which later spread throughout the Amazon, Guyana, and southern Colombia, where there are similar cave paintings. Portal to the Underworld. Last year, a unique artifact, the portal to the underworld, which was stolen and taken to the United States in the 1960s, returned to Mexico. Scientists recently completed restoration and returned it to its original location in central Mexico. This monument, created by the Olmec civilization, has long been considered a gateway to the other world. In the 1960s, it was kidnapped from Chalcatzingo, a famous Olmec archaeological site where it was depicting a mythical cat with gaping jaws, a symbol of entry into the spiritual world. The monument dates from the pre-classic period, created between 800 and 400 BC. The thieves smashed the artifact with hammers to make it easier to transport, but did not damage the main features. It was smuggled to the United States, where it ended up on the illegal antiques market. In 1968, the artifact ended up in a New York museum under the name Monster of the Earth. Archaeologist David Grove recognized the Olmec origins of the monument and noted similarities with other sculptures at Chalcatzingo, especially the Olmec cross-shaped eyes and bromeliad flowers near the mouth. The mice ate an important message. Archaeologists sometimes make such amazing discoveries that they are hard to believe. One of the most unusual discoveries was an ancient Greek letter that was eaten by mice. It was written on a wooden tablet and contained an order to kill the messenger. The researchers were never able to prove whether this order was carried out. Letter written between 257 and 248 BC belonged to a man named Epharmostos. He sent it to his brother Zeno. The letter said, "Greetings. The letter you wrote to Menon about Calicon's money was eaten by mice. You will do me a favor if you write quickly so that Calicon will not be delayed. Goodbye." The ancient Greeks often wrote letters on various topics: family stories, news, love letters, political views. Letters were an important means of communication and literary expression. The first mention of writing in Greek literature appeared in Homer's Iliad, where Praetus gives a tablet to Bellerophon. In the 6th century BC, Herodotus describes the correspondence between King Amasis and the tyrant Polycrates. Letters were written with a reed pen and ink on papyrus, which was then rolled up and tied with thread. Official documents were sealed so that only the addressee could open them. In addition to papyrus, metal, wood, beeswax, clay tablets, limestone, or animal skin were used. The earliest Greek writing was written on lead tablets around 500 BC, a 4,000-year-old parcel. The National Museum of Ireland has received unique artifacts from the Bronze Age. An anonymous sender sent 2 axes by post which are over 4,000 years old. Experts noted that the axes were carefully packed in a box with foam padding. The sender also enclosed a letter stating that the axes were found using a metal detector in the Westmeath area. The museum has asked the sender to provide more information about the find, especially the exact location of the find, in order to understand the historical context. The axes date back to 2150–2000 BC, which coincides with the beginning of the Bronze Age. They may be among the first metal axes in Ireland made from copper, possibly mined on Ross Island. The object itself is valuable, but the context is also important. Artifacts were often buried in places associated with rituals. The museum hopes that the sender will contact us to provide more information. Land of Princes. Archaeologists from the University of Bologna have discovered a new and astonishing tomb in the necropolis of Corinaldo, Ancona province, Italy. The excavations by the archaeologists revealed a rectangular tomb in the center of a large circular pit. The tomb, measuring 3.8 by 2.2 meters, contained more than 150 decorated artifacts, including a 2-wheeled chariot, a bronze helmet, cauldrons, and beautifully decorated vessels. These objects indicate the presence of a funeral feast, indicating the high status of the deceased. The burial dates back to the 7th century BC and is associated with the Picenes, an ancient Italic people who lived along the Adriatic coast from the 9th to the 3rd century BC. The Picenes were known for their trade relations with neighboring cultures, including the Etruscans, as confirmed by the Etruscan artifacts found. Recent finds include a large circular ditch 30 meters in diameter with a rectangular tomb. Artifacts include spits, an iron meat axe, and various ceramic serving pieces indicating a funeral feast. This underlines the high social status of the deceased. Coronado Mayor Gianni Aloisi said the city can now be called the Land of Princes, confirming the historical and cultural value of the archaeological area of Nevala. Tarim mummies. In the Tarim Desert, located in western China, perfectly preserved mummies have been discovered that are over 4,000 years old. These mummies are striking in their condition, preserved due to the dry climate of the region. Chinese archaeologists cannot believe this because they have Caucasian features, which raises many questions about the migrations and cultural exchanges of ancient peoples. Research has shown that the mummies have high cheekbones, deep eye sockets, and blonde hair, which is not typical for the population of this region. These findings cast doubt on previous theories that the Tarim Basin was inhabited exclusively by Asian peoples. DNA tests have confirmed the mixed origins of these people, pointing to complex migration routes connecting east and west already in ancient times. The mummies were found in a variety of burials, many of which contained rich funerary gifts including textiles, weapons, and household items. The Tarim Desert mummies continue to be studied by scientists from all over the world, revealing more and more new aspects of ancient history. They are an archaeological phenomenon. Second Tibetan Denisovan. A team of scientists examined materials found in the Tibetan Baishaya cave and discovered an ancient rib. Paleoproteomic analysis showed that it belonged to a Denisovan who lived about 32,000 years ago. Basic information about Denisovans is known from a few finds. Most of the fossils were found in Denisova Cave, after which this species of ancient people was named. Outside this cave, Denisovans were first identified in Tibet when protein fragments from a fragment of a 160,000-year-old mandible found in 1980 were analyzed. Later, Denisovan DNA was also found in sediments from younger layers of this cave. The tooth of another representative of this paleopopulation was excavated in Laos. Scientists from Denmark, China, and France have studied the Tibetan Baishaya cave. At this high-altitude site, located at an altitude of 3,280 meters, they found many artifacts and animal remains, indicating that archaic people had visited the cave over many thousands of years. Among the more than 2,500 animal bones and teeth found in the cave were blue sheep, yaks, Tibetan gazelles, and horses. The bones of an ancient hyena, gray wolf, snow leopard, pheasant, and golden eagle were also identified. Anthropogenic traces were found on almost 20% of the bones. During excavations, archaeologists discovered a fragment of a rib more than 5 centimeters long, which fell into 2 parts. Biomolecular analysis showed that the fossil belonged to a Denisovan. Dating by cultural layer determined the age of the find at 48,000 years, indicating that the Denisovans visited the Baishaya cave for more than 100,000 years. Ancient plant remains. Guard Archaeology has uncovered a Bronze Age hoard in Rosemarkie, Scotland. Dating to around 1000 BC, the hoard was discovered in a prehistoric settlement with 6 round houses and a bronze tomb. A wooden palisade fence that protected the settlement was also found at the site. Laboratory tests have shown that the hoard consists of 6 penannular bracelets, 1 cupped bracelet, 1 full neck ring, 1 partial neck ring, and interwoven plant fibers. Remarkably, the plant cords that bound the bracelets together were preserved by the antimicrobial properties of the copper and the bronze. The cords have remained intact for around 3,000 years. A monumental structure from biblical stories. Archaeologists have discovered an ancient moat in Jerusalem mentioned in the Bible. The structure, located in the city of David, is over 3,000 years old. Scientists have long been looking for evidence of the division of the city into 2 parts, as described in the Holy Scriptures, and have now found a moat that separated the Temple Mount from residential areas. The moat is about 9 meters deep and 30 meters wide. Experts believe that the moat was created in the Iron Age, which corresponds to the times described in the Book of Kings and the Book of Samuel. In the first Book of Kings, 11:27, it is said that Solomon fortified Millo and sealed the breach in the wall of the city of David. King David founded the city to unite Israel around one capital. Historians believe that the moat was used during the era when Jerusalem was the capital of the Kingdom of Judah, beginning with the reign of King Josiah. The ditch separated the southern residential areas from the upper city in the north, where the palace and temple were located. It served both a defensive and dividing function, emphasizing the power of the ruler of Jerusalem and his ability to protect the city. These discoveries confirm the biblical texts. Giant hearse. Archaeologists have discovered a unique funeral cart in a double burial near the city of Dongfeng in northern China. The found fragments of the hearse, which is about 7 meters long and more than 2 meters wide, date back to the Liao dynasty. Although part of the cart has collapsed, many of the iron elements decorated with gilding have survived in excellent condition. In the second tomb, archaeologists found more than 30 artifacts, including silver and copper jewelry, as well as gilded bells. These finds will help to study the unique burial rites of the Khitan people, the creators of the Liao state. Interestingly, some scientists believe that the Russian name for China comes from the Khitan people. Slab with Mayan glyphs. Archaeologists from the National Institute of Anthropology and History have discovered a huge stone panel carved into the bottom of a sacred pool in Coba, on the Yucatan Peninsula in the Mexican state of Quintana Roo. Coba, an ancient Mayan city, flourished between 500 and 900 AD and reached a population of about 50,000 people. Recent excavations have revealed a monumental panel with 123 Mayan glyphs carved into the bottom of a sacred pool near the 42-meter-high Nohok Mul Pyramid. The glyphs form an L-shaped figure over an area of over 11 square meters. Epigraphic studies have revealed the name of the previously unknown ruler of Coba, Kawil Chakchin, who adopted the name of the lightning god Kowil. The glyphs also mention the founding of the city of Kewitznal in 569 CE and dynastic rulers such as Bolon Sakabahau. Archaeologists are currently working to preserve the eroded site and create a 3D reconstruction for future research. Oldest calendar. Archaeologists have made a stunning discovery in Göbekli Tepe, Turkey, when they discovered the world's oldest calendar dating back 12,000 years. The discovery could change our understanding of early civilizations, as it shows that humans were able to measure time as early as 10,000 BC. This was long before the rise of ancient Greece and other known cultures. The calendar is carved into a stone column and contains 365 markings, indicating 12 months with 11 extra days. Symbols including the letter V can be seen at the top of the column, while the bottom depicts a bird holding a round object and a scorpion. These images may represent the sun and the zodiac signs. Research also points to a connection with a comet, which caused a cold snap that lasted 1,200 years. This event would have had a devastating effect on large animal species and may have caused significant changes to the region's ecosystem. Historians believe that such catastrophic events may have been a catalyst for the emergence of new religions and the development of agriculture, which in turn led to the formation of the first civilizations. Ancient inscriptions of the pharaohs in the Nile. Archaeological divers at the bottom of the murky waters of the Nile in Egypt examined algae-covered rock formations. At first glance, the stones seemed unremarkable. However, upon closer examination, scientists discovered several inscriptions associated with the ancient pharaohs. A joint team of Egyptian and French archaeologists decided to explore the ruins in the reservoir in Aswan. Under a layer of algae, they found several carvings that were at least 2,300 years old. The images ranged from drawings of ancient Egyptian pharaohs to hieroglyphs. The photo shows several well-preserved carved figures. The shapes are blurred by water and quite difficult to distinguish. One set of lettering appears to be a row of mannequin heads above two objects that resemble tombstones. These ancient inscriptions are still being studied. Archaeologists believe that these finds will help to better understand how the ancient kings ruled in those distant times. Ritual table in Tava Tepe. In Azerbaijan, a team of Italian and Azerbaijani archaeologists discovered a 3,500-year-old ritual table in the ancient settlement of Tava Tepe. This place is located near the borders of Armenia, Georgia, and Azerbaijan. During the excavations, a round-shaped adobe building was found. The structure includes a kitchen area and a ritual table. Between 1500 and 750 BC, late Bronze Age and early Iron Age, nomadic peoples probably used Tawa Tepe as a resting place before traveling through the mountains. Archaeologists found a ritual table with 8 recesses and many ceramic containers, bowls, vessels made of black-fired ceramics, and long flat stones for mixing food. In the corner of the kitchen there is a thick layer of ash and clay tokens with fingerprints which could serve as food coupons. The entrance originally had wooden columns, and a thatched roof covered the entire complex, which was about 15 meters in diameter. Animal bones and discarded pottery were found outside. The human figurines placed in the sacrificial pits and the fact that the structure was sealed along with all the utensils indicate its ceremonial nature. Pyramid on the site of a volcano. The Great Pyramid at the Mayan site of San Andres was built in response to the eruption of the Tierra Blanca Joven volcano in the Lago Ilopango caldera. San Andres, located in the Zapotecan Valley in the department of La Libertad, El Salvador, was founded around 900 BC as an agricultural center that became the capital of the Mayan state between 600 and 900 AD. The eruption of Tierra Blanca Joven, which occurred around 539 AD, was one of the largest volcanic events in history, ejecting about 43.7 cubic kilometers of volcanic material. It caused significant climate change and devastated an area with a radius of up to 100 kilometers. Dr. Akira Ichikawa of the University of Colorado Boulder noted that due to the scale of the disaster, many settlements were abandoned and it took a long time to rebuild them. However, research in San Andres, just 40 kilometers from Lago Ilopango, has shown that construction began several years after the eruption. The start of construction of the La Campana Pyramid dates back to just 30 years after the eruption, and its completion took about 80 years. The pyramid, 7 meters high and with a volume of 23,000 cubic meters, was the largest structure in the valley. Dr. Ichikawa suggests that the pyramid was built using volcanic ash as a material and had religious significance associated with the worship of volcanoes in order to protect against future eruptions. Ancient Slavic cemetery in Germany. Archaeologists from Saxony-Anhalt, Germany have made an important discovery, having discovered a medieval Slavic settlement and cemetery near Wetten-Lobezun. The finds were made in preparation for the construction of the underground Suedos-Link power line. The excavations revealed a 1.2-acre settlement dating back to the migration period and the early Middle Ages, 5 to 10 the centuries AD. The settlement went through 2 stages. In the early stage, it was fortified with a 4-meter-wide moat, and later individual farmsteads with 0. 5-meter-wide moats appeared. Among the artifacts found were a pearl and a bronze bracelet. An important part of the settlement was the crafts quarter, where bog iron ore was mined and textiles were made. 2 wells were also discovered, providing the settlement with water. A cemetery with about 60 graves from the 10th to 11th centuries, arranged in 2 lines, was excavated near the settlement. Most of the burials were made according to Christian traditions, with the bodies facing east. Among the finds, a family grave and the burial of a child with hydrocephalus stand out, which testifies to the care of the community. New species of dinosaurs in Siberia. In the Kemerovo region, Russian scientists discovered the skeleton of a dinosaur which turned out to be a previously unknown species. It was named Kia cursor longipes, which means long-toothed runner from the Kia River. The fossils were found after a huge rock fell from a rocky cliff with petrified bones sticking out of the rock. The skeleton was found on the territory of the Great Siberian Refugium, where relics of the Jurassic period were preserved: stem salamanders, primary crocodiles, and docodonts. Primitive mammals. The fossils were studied using X-rays, Connecticut scans, and microscopes. It turned out that the dinosaur lived in Siberia from 113 to 121 million years ago. The skeleton was partially preserved. Ribs, vertebrae, a humerus, both feet and legs, were identified. The specimen was classified as a ceratosaur, a group of running dinosaurs with 2 small legs. This is the first such discovery from the Cretaceous period in Asia. Until now, it was believed that ceratosaurs became extinct in this part of the world 40 million years earlier. The unique proportions of the hind limbs with an elongated 3rd digit allowed it to run better. Zoologists determined that the dinosaur grew to 2.5 m in length and was an adult animal, but no older than 3 years. Sunken ship with lead ingots. About 2,000 years ago, a Roman ship sank in the Mediterranean Sea with valuable cargo, including massive lead ingots. The heaviest of them weighs 68 kilograms, which is about 205 Roman pounds, according to the University of Alicante. Markings on the ingot indicate that it belonged to a Roman emperor, possibly Nero. In addition, there were about 3,000 cans of fish sauce on board. The sauce, known as garum, was popular in Roman cuisine and was widely used as a seasoning. The ship was about 32 meters long and was probably en route from Cadiz to Rome when it sank. The ship not only carried valuable metals but also foodstuffs important to the Roman diet. Exploring the shipwreck provides a unique opportunity to study the shipbuilding technologies and trading methods of the ancient Romans. Incredible luck. A farmer from the Indian town of Pani, Dilip Mistry, found a 16.10-carat diamond in a private mine that was valued at over $70,000. Mistry and 3 companions were hoping to find gems, but did not expect such luck. Local gem expert Anupam Singh confirmed the authenticity of the find, and now the diamond will be sold at auction. Of the proceeds, 12.5% will have to be given to the government as a royalty, and the remaining money will be divided among the 4 bidders. Videos posted online show Dilip proudly showing off the shimmering diamond and then handing it over to a district officer. Mistry said he plans to use his share of the money to improve the family's financial situation. Notably, this is not the first time a farmer has found diamonds. He and his partners have previously found gems, although Mistry has not said how much they were worth. 16th century compass. Archaeology enthusiasts have discovered a 16th century compass in the northern Polish town of Frombork, where the famous astronomer Nicholas Copernicus lived and worked. A local museum has suggested that the instrument, which is only the 3rd such find in Poland, may have belonged to Copernicus himself, the creator of a revolutionary model of the universe where the sun, not the earth, is at the center. The compass was found in the canonical gardens of Frombork by 2 groups of archaeological enthusiasts led by professionals. The compass was found in the garden where Copernicus conducted his astronomical observations. In a post on social media, they noted that the find not only takes us back to the era of Copernicus's great discoveries, but also opens up new possibilities for understanding his working methods. The choice of the canonical gardens for the excavation was based on a legend about the existence of a tunnel that connected Copernicus's workplace with the city's cathedral. The compass is made of copper alloy and dates back to the 16th century. The artifact will undergo conservation work, after which its future will be decided by the local curator of monuments. The museum hopes that this valuable object will be added to its collections. The first compass was found in 2005 in the courtyard of the Collegium Novum of the Jagiellonian University in Krakow. The second was also discovered in the canonical gardens of Frombork in 2016 and is already in the museum's collection. Copernicus, born in 1473 in Turin, lived in Frombork for 30 years, where he served as a canon and conducted astronomical observations. Last meal. Researchers from the UK have studied the mummy of a crocodile caught in ancient Egypt. A fish with a hook was found in the stomach of a 2-meter predator, which caused the death of the reptile. The mummy, 3,000 years old, is housed in the Birmingham Museum and Art Gallery. During the time of the pharaohs, animals were often mummified, especially crocodiles, which were considered sacred. Using X-ray and computer scans, scientists virtually removed the hook and recreated a replica of it in bronze. Scans showed that during its lifetime, the crocodile had swallowed many small stones called gastroliths, which help break down meat and regulate buoyancy. The last prey died before reaching the stomach and was not affected by digestive enzymes or gastroliths. Scientists believe that the crocodile was specially caught using live bait, after which it was mummified as an offering to the god Sebek. Hjort Spring Rook. The boat was found in the Hjort Spring Bog in Denmark and is the oldest planked ship in Northern Europe, dating back approximately 2,300 years. The boat is almost 20 meters long, weighs 530 kilograms, and could carry 24 people with weapons and equipment. The boat's planks were made of basswood, the oars were made of maple, and there were curved extensions at each end. This boat is an outstanding example of ancient shipbuilding, showing the high level of craftsmanship and engineering knowledge of the time. Linden was chosen for its lightness and strength, which made the boat fast and maneuverable, and maple for the oars, for its hardness and stability. Giant War Memorial. Archaeologists have discovered a 4,000-year-old memorial monument at the site of Banabazi in Syria that resembles the ancient Egyptian step pyramid at Saqqara. Known as the White Monument for the white sheen of its building materials, the man-made mound was first examined decades ago. Recent research has shown that around 2400 BC, the pre-existing mound was modified and expanded with a series of horizontal steps, each containing at least 30 burials sealed with layers of plaster. Ancient Mesopotamian texts mention war memorials where the bodies of enemies were piled up, although no such monuments have yet been found. However, the White Monument at Tel Banat appears to have served as a memorial for the settlement's inhabitants, rather than for enemies who died in battle. The discovery challenges some traditional ideas about Near Eastern archaeology. The monument was comparable in size to the step pyramid of Djoser at Saqqara, but was built of earth rather than stone. The burials at the White Monument were carefully placed, according to ritual customs, alongside military equipment, sometimes alongside missiles and animal skins. This fact indicates that the community sought to honor its warriors by creating a memorial in their honor. Terracotta water pipes. Archaeologists have discovered a 2600-year-old terracotta water pipe at the ancient site of Kiladi in Tamil Nadu, India. The discovery highlights the sophisticated water supply systems of the civilization that flourished there thousands of years ago and adds new evidence to the urban planning and engineering skills of the Sangam people. Kiladi, located 12 kilometers from Madurai, was first discovered in 2014. Since then, the site has become important for the study of the Sangam period, which spans from 300 BC to 300 AD. Over the past decade, more than 20,000 artifacts have been found at the site, indicating an advanced society that excelled in brickmaking, beadmaking, and terracotta ware. The newly discovered cylindrical terracotta water pipe, according to the Tamil Nadu Archaeological Department, consists of 6 sections, each 36 centimeters long and 18 centimeters wide. These sections were carefully joined to form a 174 centimeters long water pipe. It is believed to have been used to transport drinking water, demonstrating advanced hydraulic engineering skills. The discovery also adds to our understanding that advanced engineering practices were not limited to northern India, but also to the southern regions, indicating a more technologically advanced ancient India than previously thought. City in the heart of the Sahara. Central Sahara in Niger is a territory practically inaccessible to people. Any tourist traveling south from the Mediterranean coast faces a huge number of obstacles. Giant dunes, sweltering heat, and drying winds create a landscape almost devoid of life. But those who penetrate the depths of the Great Desert are in for a surprise. Surrounded by sandy canyons on a lonely plateau are the ruins of the huge fortified city of Jado. These ruins, which range in age from 800 to 1,000 years, are a mystery. The city appeared when this part of the desert was much more humid and fertile. Little is known about the inhabitants of these places, and who built this city remains unknown. The fortified city of Jado is a Ksar, a typical North African fortified settlement. Such settlements typically consist of residential structures built around a central food warehouse, with an emphasis on defensive functions. Ksars like Jado were built from palm trunks covered with an adobe mixture, hardened by the desert winds to the hardness of metal. What sets Jado apart from most similar Ksars is its incredible size. The colossal fortress rises above the desert, making the rest of the landscape insignificant. The Kanuri people who inhabit the desert in the center of the Sahara were the last known inhabitants of this place. Perhaps they inherited the city from an older culture about which no data has been preserved. The turning point that forced the Kanuri to leave Jado was probably the drying up of drinking water. As the green landscape turned into desert, the water became brackish and the environment too harsh for survival. People lived on the Jado Plateau for about 60,000 years, leaving rock paintings and other evidence of their presence. Small cattle were bred here as early as 7000 BC, and cattle appeared around 3500 BC. Rock art discovered in the Air Mountains is approximately 5,500 to 4,500 years old. They depict a world with dense vegetation and an abundance of animals, completely unlike the modern landscape. Today, getting to the once great city can be difficult. This part of the world is unstable, and the tribes inhabiting the area are constantly fighting for limited resources. The Kanuri now live in the nearby desert village of Chirfa, but return to their ancestral site every year to harvest the dates. Strangely, the date palms continue to bear fruit. Kanuri is a remnant of the ancient Kanium civilization, which reigned in the Central Sahara from 700 to 1300 AD. The origins of this empire are shrouded in mystery, and it is unknown whether Jado was founded during this period or even earlier. If the Khanim built Jado, then excavations can reveal a lot about this culture. But if they inherited it, perhaps someday they will be able to discover something else, hidden from human eyes and protected by the desert to reveal all its secrets. Fingerprints of an ancient man. Archaeologists have discovered an astonishing Iron Age statue with the well-preserved fingerprints of its creator, offering a glimpse into the lives of our ancestors more than 3,000 years ago. The ancient clay figure, dating back to the 9th or 10th century BC, was found at the bottom of a lake in Italy and is believed by experts to have ritual significance. The discovery was made in Lake Bolsena, a volcanic lake where archaeologists found a clay sculpture resembling a palm-sized female figure. Such figurines are usually found in burial tombs, but this one was discovered in an area that was once the habitation area of a submerged settlement. A team from the Underwater Archaeology Service and the Italian Cultural Heritage Restoration Team, together with state divers, played a key role in preserving and recovering the artifact. Researchers say the statue is so well preserved that the fingerprints of the artist who created it are visible. This suggests that the sculpture may have been a trial version rather than a finished piece. The discovery also sheds light on the ancient Italian village of Iola, which scientists believe existed during the Iron Age. The Gran Caro di Bolsena region where the discovery was made is associated with volcanic activity and has a rich history, the study of which only began in 1991 when researchers discovered a cluster of rough stones believed to belong to the early Iron Age. A salt block instead of money. An ancient mural found at Calakmul, a UNESCO World Heritage Site on Mexico's Yucatan Peninsula, depicts the first documented instance of salt trading among the Maya more than 2,500 years ago. Depicting daily life, the mural shows a salt vendor showing a customer a salt block wrapped in leaves, while another person holds a large spoon over a basket, presumably containing loose salt. It is the earliest known depiction of salt being sold in a marketplace in the Maya region. Salt, an essential biological element and a means of preserving food, was a valuable commodity among the Maya because of its limited availability. Salt blocks could be easily transported by canoe along the coast and up rivers in southern Belize. Louisiana State University, LSU archaeologist Heather McKillop discovered the first remains of ancient salt kitchens in 2004, submerged and preserved in a salty mangrove lagoon in Belize. Since then, she and her team have examined 70 sites that comprise a network of buildings and rooms known as the Paynes Creek Saltworks. McKillop's team found 4,042 wooden posts, a canoe, a paddle, a high-quality jadeite tool, stone tools for salting fish and meat, and hundreds of ceramic vessels. By examining the ceramic vessels used to evaporate the brine, the researchers found that they were standardized in volume, indicating the production of uniformly sized salt units possibly used as a medium of exchange similar to money. Ancient Roman supermarket in the ocean. Archaeologists have discovered an ancient Roman supermarket in the Channel Islands off the coast of France, where various goods were traded. Research began in 2008 and resulted in the discovery of 2 Roman coins pointing to this discovery. One coin shows Caesar as a teenager, another shows the emperor killed by the invading Goths. The island of Alderney, the northernmost of the Channel Islands, may have served the Romans as a trading post. Archaeologist Jason Monahan noted that remains of Roman buildings, including a grotto, were found here, indicating a continued Roman presence. They could monitor the ships bringing goods from the Mediterranean to France. Archaeologists believe that Roman soldiers lived on the island, controlling trade routes and protecting them from pirates. Families of soldiers and Roman officials may also have lived here. In 2017, using electrical equipment, Iron Age burials and parts of a Roman building were discovered on the island, confirming long-term occupation. Excavations revealed that the Roman-era building had 3 rooms: a courtyard, a paved area, and a rubbish dump where one of the coins was found, Antoninian, dating back to 255 AD, equivalent to 2 denarii. In another layer of the building was found a bronze coin of the Roman co-emperor Valens, dating from 367, who was killed at the Battle of Adrianople. The remains of a Roman fort were discovered approximately 27 meters from the building. Archaeologists believe many more Roman-era buildings may be hidden beneath the sand dunes, creating the effect of a mini Pompeii. Twice the weight of a whale. The prehistoric cow lived approximately 40 million years ago in water. German paleontologists from the State Museum of Natural History in Stuttgart discovered its remains in the south of Peru, where there was an ocean in prehistoric times. 13 vertebrae were found, each weighing 100-weight, 4 1.5-meter ribs, and a giant femur. The excavation site was a shallow bay that divided the equatorial part of the continent in half. Scientists have determined that the remains belong to a creature that lived about 40 million years ago. The creature weighed approximately 340 tons. This makes it the heaviest animal to ever exist on Earth. Even the giant brontosaurs were lighter. After studying the find, scientists came to the conclusion that these huge creatures swam slowly, dived shallowly, and fed on what they found at the bottom: algae, mollusks, and small fish. In their lifestyle, they resembled sea cows, which people exterminated in the 18th century. Outwardly, they most likely also looked like sea cows, although in fact they were ancient whales of the genus Basilosaurus. The oldest shopping list. When going to the store, many of us make a list of the necessary products on a piece of paper or in the notepad of our smartphone, but it was not always so. During excavations in southern Turkey, archaeologists discovered a unique clay tablet with Akkadian cuneiform, which turned out to be the oldest known shopping list. This document, created 3,500 years ago, gives us an idea of the daily life of the inhabitants of that time. The tablet was found in the ruins of the ancient city of Alalak, which attracted the attention of scientists in the first half of the 20th century, but due to the war, excavations were suspended and resumed only in the 2000s. Recently, after the earthquake of 2023, another clay tablet was discovered during restoration work in Alalak. It is 4.2 by 3.5 centimeters in size and 1.6 centimeters thick. Deciphering the inscriptions revealed that it was a shopping list, including wooden tables, chairs, and stools. The document also mentions the names of the buyer and sellers, making it an important source for understanding trade and everyday relations in the 15th century BC. According to Turkish archaeologists, this is the oldest shopping list that has survived to this day, and it is of great value for the study of the history of the ancient Near East. Ancient stone circles in Saudi Arabia. Archaeologists in Saudi Arabia have unearthed 8 ancient stone circles that served as habitations for people more than 7,000 years ago. Some 345 such structures have been identified through aerial photography in the arid lava field near the city of Alula in northwestern Saudi Arabia. The stone circles range from 4 to 8 meters in diameter and include at least one standing stone in the center. During excavations, archaeologists discovered many stone tools made of basalt. Almost 225 kilograms of stone tools or their fragments were recovered from only 5 circles. Bones of sheep, goats, and cows were also found. The finds included a variety of seashells from the Red Sea, located about 120 kilometers to the west. The round shape of houses was a global phenomenon in early architecture, and rectangular houses appeared later in the Neolithic period. The architecture of standing stone circles in Saudi Arabia is similar to structures found in Jordan, dating back approximately 500 years. The people who built these structures also raised sheep, goats, and cattle. One of the most mysterious peoples of Europe. This altar is one of 4 known Larage altars, but the only one found during excavations. The artifact was discovered at the bottom of a well in the Donis Tebe monastery. On the altar there is an inscription: Valeria Vitella fulfills her vow to Lare freely and deservedly. Mount Archaeology, inhabited since Roman times, is located in the valley of the Gulina River near Pamplona. Its strategic position has made the site important throughout history, as evidenced by the remains of Roman infrastructure and the later monastery dedicated to Saint Stephen. Little is known about Larak. Only 3 other altars testify to the worship of this deity. The new find expands the known geographical distribution of the Larage cult. Human blood on ancient mask. A gold mask from the Sican culture found on the northern coast of Peru contains traces of human blood. The Sikan culture, which existed from 750 to 1375 AD, is known for its luxurious gold crafts, including funerary masks that were created during the Middle Sikan period and often accompanied the elite in their tombs. In the 1990s, archaeologists excavated the tomb of one such elite. It contained a skeleton sitting upside down, painted bright red with cinnabar, with a gold mask covering a severed skull. Around the skeleton were the skeletons of 2 young women in labor and nursing positions, as well as 2 children. In a recent study, scientists analyzed the paint on the mask, identifying 6 proteins from human blood, including serum albumin and immunoglobulin G. Proteins from egg white, presumably from a Muscovy duck, were also found. Researchers believe that the presence of blood symbolized life force and could be linked to the idea of rebirth of the deceased. Escape tunnels. Archaeologists have discovered secret tunnels in the Alps that were used to evacuate the top Nazi leadership. These underground structures carved out of the rock are astonishing in their sophistication and scale. Researchers believe that the tunnels were part of a carefully planned network designed to provide a secret escape route in the event of the collapse of the Third Reich. Newly discovered documents and drawings confirm this. The routes passed through inaccessible areas of the Alps, which would have allowed the Nazi leaders to evade detection and pursuit. Archaeological finds include ventilation shafts, hidden exits, and small supply depots, indicating extensive preparation for a possible evacuation. These tunnels could have played a major role in the fate of the Nazi elite if the events of World War II had taken a different turn. The search for Antarctic Base 211. The legend of Base 211 inches in Antarctica is one of the most mysterious theories associated with the Nazis. According to rumors, the Nazis may have built a secret base in this isolated region during World War II to hide after their defeat. The base was allegedly located in the Queen Maud Land region and was equipped with advanced technology that allowed the Nazis to survive in the harsh conditions of Antarctica. Recent studies and expeditions have generated a new wave of interest in this theory. In recent years, several artifacts have been found, including fragments of equipment and items with characteristic German markings, which may have belonged to German expeditions to Antarctica. Some researchers claim that this is evidence of Nazi presence in the region, although most scientists do not believe this. There is also evidence of German attempts to establish bases in Antarctica during the 1938 expedition, but no evidence has been found of the existence of Base 211. Despite the lack of direct evidence, myths about a secret base continue to excite researchers and conspiracy theorists. Laser weapons of the Third Reich. During World War II, Germany was actively looking for ways to create a fundamentally new weapon that could turn the tide of the war. According to some sources, the Nazis were working on prototypes of laser installations. These developments were carried out within the framework of several secret projects, including research in the field of optics and high energies. One of these projects could be the creation of the so-called beam weapon or death ray. Research in this area was based on the advanced achievements of German scientists such as Werner Heisenberg, who studied the possibilities of using lasers for military purposes. In theory, such a weapon could destroy aircraft, tanks, and other equipment at a considerable distance using focused beams of energy. The technological level of that time did not allow for the full implementation of such projects, and after the war, most of this research remained only on paper. However, every year archaeologists find various artifacts and documents related to the Nazis, and what previously seemed like a legend, in fact, turned out to be the terrible truth. Battle of Kursk. Archaeological research at the site of the legendary Battle of Kursk, one of the key battles of World War II, continues to yield amazing finds. This battle, which took place in the summer of 1943, was the largest tank battle in history, determining the further course of the war on the Eastern Front. Excavations at the site of this large-scale confrontation have revealed hundreds of artifacts that allow us to better understand the course of events and the conditions in which Soviet soldiers fought. The finds include famous tanks, Soviet T-34s and German Tigers, fragments of guns and equipment, as well as ammunition. These finds will help historians reconstruct the battlefields in detail and understand how exactly tank and artillery duels unfolded on the battlefields of Kursk. Particularly valuable are artifacts related to tactical maneuvers and fortifications used by both sides. Personal belongings of soldiers were also found. Medallions, letters, elements of uniforms. These objects help to take a new look at the human side of war, the difficult conditions the soldiers faced, and their daily lives on the battlefield. Secret Project Bell. According to various sources, this was a top-secret program aimed at creating technology ahead of its time. The bell was a bell-shaped device consisting of a metal shell filled with a strange substance called red mercury. Tests were conducted in a remote laboratory in Poland near Wrocław. The research surrounding this project covered a wide range of topics, from anti-gravity to time travel. Some theories claim that the Nazis were trying to create a device that could change the outcome of the war by using advanced physical phenomena such as the distortion of space and time. However, the results of the experiments remain unknown, and after the war, traces of the bell disappeared. The secrecy surrounding the project gave rise to many rumors. Some believed that the device was evacuated to South America or fell into the hands of the Allies. Whether the bell actually existed remains an open question. Nazis and ancient giants. Among the many occult and pseudoscientific theories that the Nazis actively promoted through the unearth organization, one of the most mysterious is the idea of the existence of ancient races of giants. The Nazis believed that these giants were the ancestors of the Aryans and possessed enormous physical strength, wisdom, and high technology. They were considered an example of the superiority of the Aryan race, which the Nazis sought to prove. The goal of the unearth expedition to Tibet, South America, and Scandinavia was to find archaeological evidence of the existence of giants. These searches were part of a larger program aimed at finding artifacts that could reinforce the Nazi ideology of the purity and superiority of the Aryan race. There is a version that in some expeditions the remains of giant creatures were found, skeletons, skulls, and bones of enormous size. These finds were supposedly to be used in Nazi propaganda to support ancient myths about a great race from which they believed the Aryans originated. However, no reliable scientific evidence of these finds has ever been published, and much of the information about such expeditions remains at the level of legends and rumors. The idea of ancient giants fit well with the mythology on which the Nazi ideology was built, associated with the search for Aryan roots and the revival of ancient semi-mythical civilizations. Testing psychotropic substances. Recent excavations at a former SS facility in Austria have shed light on one of the dark and little-known pages of Nazi experiments. Archaeologists have discovered the remains of laboratories where experiments with psychotropic substances were conducted. The facility, located in a mountainous area, was carefully hidden from people, which allowed it to remain unnoticed until now. The laboratories were equipped with the latest technology of the time, and the artifacts found give an idea of the scale of the research that was conducted there. Ampules with chemical residues, complex distillation and synthesis apparatus, and journals with notes detailing the experiments are among the finds. According to the records, the research concerned the effects of psychotropic drugs on human consciousness and behavior. The Nazis were actively looking for ways to control the mind, trying to develop substances that could be used to suppress the will or change the perception of reality in opponents. The effects of drugs on soldiers were also studied, with the aim of enhancing their fighting qualities or dulling their fear of death. Records found in the laboratories contain shocking details about how the Nazis conducted experiments on concentration camp prisoners using them as test subjects. These experiments were cruel and often resulted in severe physical and mental consequences for the victims. Some substances caused severe hallucinations, paranoia, and loss of control over their own bodies, while others completely blocked the feeling of fear or pain, turning people into fighting machines. These experiments may have been part of a larger SS program to create ideal soldiers, impervious to pain and moral limitations. Many modern synthetic drugs were created in these laboratories. Test site. Peenemünde was one of the key sites of Nazi Germany, where the first ballistic missiles, including the famous V2, were developed and tested. Situated on the Baltic coast, this test site was not only a center of technical innovation, but also a symbol of German engineering might. Today, Peenemünde remains an important site for archaeological research, revealing little-known details of those years. Recent excavations at the site have yielded many interesting finds. Archaeologists have discovered fragments of V2 rockets that were used for testing. One of the most interesting discoveries was the cooling and fuel systems, which show how complex the development and testing processes were. Scientists have also found traces of the destruction wrought on the site in the final days of the war. Peenemünde was not just a missile testing site, it was a center of scientific research related to the creation of weapons that were ahead of their time. Who knows how this terrible war would have ended if the Germans had succeeded in creating ballistic missiles capable of causing enormous damage over gigantic distances. Witchcraft research. Project Hex is a mysterious project rumored to be connected to Nazi research into the occult and witchcraft. According to the stories, in one of the secret laboratories, the Nazis conducted experiments aimed at studying magic, ancient rituals, and supernatural powers. The project was allegedly inspired by the fascination of high-ranking officials of the Third Reich with the occult and the idea of searching for ancient knowledge to create powerful weapons. Recent archaeological discoveries in Eastern Europe have increased interest in this theory. Strange artifacts were found in an abandoned bunker that may indicate occult practices. Among the finds are ancient manuscripts describing witchcraft rituals, symbols related to Germanic Scandinavian mythology, and strange altar structures that were supposedly used in rituals. Items resembling magical amulets have also been found, suggesting that the Nazis were looking for ways to use magical powers for their own purposes. While many of these stories may have been exaggerated, the Nazis did have an interest in the occult, as evidenced by the activities of the unearth, an organization that studied mysticism and ancient cults. Connection to ancient Egyptian priests. Among the many occult theories that interested the Nazis, the idea of ancient Egyptian priests occupied a special place. The leaders of the Third Reich, especially members of the unearth, believed that ancient Egyptian priests possessed secret knowledge about the afterlife, magic, and power over death. This knowledge, in their opinion, could be used to achieve control over spiritual and physical forces, which would make the Nazis invincible. Nazi expeditions to Egypt, organized under the auspices of the unearth, were aimed at finding ancient artifacts associated with the pharaohs and their rituals. Of particular interest was the cult of Osiris, the god of the afterlife and rebirth, symbolizing eternal life and strength. Osiris, as the patron of resurrection and the cycles of life, could, according to the Nazis, give them the key to immortality and control over the soul. The expeditions were supposed to find ancient texts and artifacts that could reveal the secrets of the priestly rites performed in the temples and pyramids. The Nazis were looking for magical objects such as wands, amulets, and sacred scrolls that could give them access to spiritual power using the magical rites of the ancient priests. Although no official evidence of successful finds or magical artifacts was ever presented, the Nazi elite believed that the ancient Egyptian priests possessed true knowledge about the nature of life and death. Laurentius Library. The legend of the Laurentius Library, collected in the Middle Ages and containing rare manuscripts and magical texts, is shrouded in mystery and myth. According to legend, this library was stolen by the Nazis during World War II and hidden in one of the German castles. The Nazis, fascinated by the occult and ancient knowledge, actively searched for artifacts and ancient texts that could give them access to supernatural powers. It is believed that the Laurentius Library included manuscripts on alchemy, astrology, and magical rituals, as well as ancient treatises on power and secret knowledge passed down through the centuries. Recent discoveries in one of the Bavarian castles, allegedly connected with Nazi occult projects, have reawakened interest in this legend. Several ancient manuscripts were discovered in underground storage facilities, which may be part of the lost library. The texts found include ancient treatises in Latin and Greek, as well as mysterious notes containing alchemical formulas and symbols. Most of these texts have still not been found, and the location of the remaining books remains unknown. The discovery of these ancient artifacts continues to cause controversy among historians and archaeologists. But one thing is clear: the Nazis' desire to possess ancient knowledge was serious and deeply thought out. Cloning Lab. A truly shocking discovery has been made in the Carpathian Mountains of Romania, an abandoned laboratory that is rumored to have been used by the Nazis for cloning experiments. This secret facility, hidden deep in the mountains, remained unknown for a long time, but recent excavations have uncovered fragments of equipment, containers for storing biological samples, and journals with scientists' notes. This lab could have been part of a larger Third Reich program aimed at creating the perfect man. The Nazis were keenly interested in genetics and biology in order to create a race of ideal soldiers. strong, resilient, and completely obedient. The discovery of the lab in the Carpathians lends credence to these rumors. The equipment found includes bioreactors, life support devices, and glass containers that were likely used to store biological materials and tissue samples. Some of the containers contain traces of substances that may have been used for genetic manipulation. The documents found here describe experiments in animal cloning, specifically attempts to duplicate genetic material to create identical organisms. Some records indicate ambitions to create not only copies of animals, but also to reproduce genetically enhanced humans. In addition, traces of experiments in the accelerated development of cells and organs were found, which may indicate attempts to artificially grow body parts. These studies, if they were indeed conducted on living creatures, indicate the extremes to which the Nazis resorted in their scientific research. The laboratory was suddenly abandoned in the last months of the war when the Nazis began to retreat from the region. Many documents were destroyed, but the surviving fragments make it clear that the work was carried out at an extremely high level for its time. There is now an official ban on the study of cloning throughout the world. However, there is evidence that similar experiments are still being carried out today in China, the United States, Great Britain, and Israel.
Underwater base in Argentina. A secret Nazi submarine base off the coast of Argentina has long been the subject of rumors and theories, but recent research appears to support the theory. Researchers have uncovered evidence of a German U-boat hideout in a remote area of the Argentine coast. These bases, some say, may have been used to hide submarines that carried Nazi officers and supplies to South America after the war. The discovery includes the remains of underground tunnels and shelters that may have served as both submarine staging areas and hubs for intelligence activities. The finds include metal structures, pieces of equipment, and old maps showing possible U-boat routes along the coast. These sites may have been part of a Nazi plan to create secret havens where their elite could hide after the collapse of the Third Reich. Argentina, known for its neutrality during the war and close ties to former Nazis, was an attractive haven for fugitive German officers. U-boats such as the infamous U-530 and U-977 docked off the coast of South America in the final days of the war, raising the possibility that such bases may have existed. The quest for the Silver Spear. The Spear of Longinus, also known as the Spear of Destiny, is one of the most famous and mystical artifacts in history. According to Christian legend, this is the spear with which the Roman legionary Longinus pierced the side of the crucified Jesus Christ. Many legends claim that this artifact has great magical powers and that its owner can rule the world and gain unlimited power. The Nazi leadership, especially Adolf Hitler, were confident in the power of the Spear of Destiny. Hitler first saw it in his youth in a Vienna museum and was so impressed that he later called this moment a turning point in his life. Many great rulers of the past, such as Charlemagne and Napoleon, were believed to have owned this spear, which supposedly helped them achieve their great achievements. Hitler was confident that if he took possession of the Spear of Longinus, it would ensure him not only victory in war, but also domination of the world. When the Nazis came to power, the search for the Spear of Destiny became part of their program to collect ancient artifacts that could strengthen their influence and power. Secret research conducted within the Unearth organization was aimed at finding both Christian relics and other ancient objects with magical or religious powers. The Spear of Longinus was considered the key to the success of the entire Nazi project. In 1938, after the Anschluss of Austria, Hitler ordered the immediate transfer of the Spear of Destiny from the museum in Vienna to Nuremberg, where it was placed in a special room for study and storage. During the following years of the war, the Nazis continued to search for the original spear, fearing that the spear found in Vienna might be a copy and not the real thing. The Ahnenerbe went all over Europe looking for traces of other relics associated with the spear. It was believed that the spear might have been lost or hidden during the Crusades, and the Nazis actively studied ancient maps and texts to find at least some traces. Secret missions were sent to the most remote corners of Europe and the Middle East, trying to find clues that could lead to the real spear. The fate of the Spear of Longinus remains one of the mysteries of World War II. After the capture of Nuremberg in 1945, the artifact was found in the city's treasury and handed over to American troops. However, there is still debate about whether this spear is genuine or one of the many replicas created in the Middle Ages. Some researchers believe that the true Spear of Destiny has never been found and is still in one of the secret places, waiting for its new owner.
The Black Sorcerers of Königsberg. The dungeons of Kaliningrad, formerly Königsberg, hold many terrible secrets. One of the darkest is the legend of Laboratory 13, a place where the Nazis conducted occult experiments, the purpose of which was to enslave the world by influencing the psyche and soul of man. These experiments, according to legend, relied on the ancient knowledge of the Teutonic Order and magic, which absorbed the power of numbers and ancient rituals. Königsberg was originally the center of German mysticism and power. Founded more than 800 years ago, it became a stronghold for the Teutonic Order, from which the knights set off on crusades to the Slavic lands. This city personified the desire of the German peoples to expand to the east, Drang nach Osten. However, the Teutonic Order was not just a military one. He actively used occult practices, alchemy, and black magic, which gave his actions a mystical meaning. According to legend, it was here on Kniephof Island in the center of today's Kaliningrad that the Teutonic masters founded a secret settlement of sorcerers. While the Holy Inquisition persecuted magicians throughout Europe, here they quietly went about their business, summoning spirits, creating homunculi, and practicing alchemy. The number 13 inches had a special meaning for the city. That is exactly how much the sum of the digits of the year of foundation was, 1255, and even the start date of World War II coincided with the date the castle was laid. It was believed that there were 13 schools of magic in the dungeons of Königsberg, the most famous of which was the old Magda's Dolls School, where magical dolls' doubles were created, designed to harm their enemies. Nazi leaders such as Heinrich Himmler sought to revive the ancient traditions of the Teutonic Order and actively used Königsberg as a center for their occult research. Hitler, believing in the mystical power of the city, ordered the establishment of Laboratory 13 inches here, where terrifying experiments were carried out. This place was located on the island of Kniephof and occupied 4 old buildings in the immediate vicinity of the cathedral. The occultists of the Third Reich used the underground premises for experiments on the unification of European occultism and Eastern esoteric practices. In 1943, Tibetan monks were spotted in Königsberg, whom the Nazis brought to participate in rituals. Magical rites included using the bones of defeated enemies to create mystical instruments, ritual drums, and pipes. The experiments covered all aspects of black magic, from summoning spirits to manipulating consciousness. The underground laboratories contained the eyes of various creatures that the Nazis believed could reveal the future. It is known that Nazi magicians revived the old Magda's Doll School and tried to influence the Allied leaders, Stalin, Roosevelt, and Churchill, using life-size magical dolls. In 1940, Churchill learned of the witchcraft rituals and ordered a massive bombing of Königsberg. However, all the buildings of Laboratory 13 survived while the cathedral was destroyed. In response, Nazi sorcerers performed a ritual to curse Britain, using the gold of the dead and other eerie materials to create a replica of Princess Blanche's wedding crown, a symbol of English purity. Soon after, the British Empire began to disintegrate, losing its colonies, and Churchill was not re-elected for a second term. Lab 13 was also associated with the famous Nazi occultist Hans Schur, who predicted the fall of Berlin and the capture of Königsberg by Soviet troops. To prevent his predictions from coming true, Hitler ordered Schur's assassination, and on April 13, 1945, he was shot at the Königsberg North Station. The subsequent fate of the occultists of Lab 13 remains shrouded in mystery. According to one version, they were taken to the United States to work on secret projects. According to another, they died in the flooded dungeons of Königsberg. What of all of the above is true and what is a legend, we will probably only find out in the future, when the secret archives are declassified. Mysterious Hand. This metal hand was found in 2021 at an Iron Age site near the ruins of Irulegui Castle in northern Spain. Its age is about 2,100 years. The artifact contains an inscription in the extinct Vaxonian language, which is considered the ancestor of the modern Basque language. The researchers were able to decipher the first word, Sorioneka, which resembles the Basque Zorioneko and translates as luck. The remaining 5 words remain a mystery for now. Scientists believe that the bronze hand was used as an amulet to bring good luck, and it could have been hung at the entrance to the home. This find is unique in that it is the oldest written monument of the Vaxon language, from which Basque later developed. It greatly expands our understanding of these ancient languages and cultures. Butter in the swamps. Wetlands often become a treasure trove for archaeologists due to their conservation properties. The humic acid in peat bogs creates a pH level similar to vinegar, allowing items to be preserved for hundreds or even thousands of years. The Irish and Scottish marshes are especially famous, where butter is often found. To date, about 500 similar finds have been recorded, dating back to the 17th century. Similar finds are also found in Norway, the Netherlands, and Germany. Butter is usually found in wooden barrels, buckets, baskets, and cups. Sometimes it is wrapped in birch bark and cloth, but a third of the finds have no packaging. The weight of the finds varies from 150 grams to 50 kilograms. The oldest Irish find dates back to 1745 to 1635 BC, and the Scottish ones date back to the 3 RD2 and centuries BC. The reasons for storing butter in swamps are varied. One version is long-term storage. Archaeologist Daniel K. Fisher found that meat stored in peat bogs retained its freezer-like properties. Butter could also be used as currency for exchange, taxes, or rent. Another reason could be fermentation to improve taste. Nordic Food Lab experiments showed that butter stored in peat acquired unique flavors and remained edible after a year and a half. Ancient Roman safe chest. In 1994, in central Spain, next to the ancient Roman temple of Mithra, archaeologists found the ruins of the Villa Casa del Mitreo. Built at the end of the 1st century, it was rebuilt several times before a major fire in the 4th century. Particular attention was drawn to a large wooden chest, bound with copper and iron plates. In ancient Rome, such chests served as safes for storing valuables. The chest measures about 3 by 1.5 meters, making it the largest such find. Due to the poor condition of the chest, which was damaged in a fire, archaeologists did not dare to remove it in 1994 for fear of destruction. The chest was left in place, awaiting better times and technologies to preserve it. This is a common practice in archaeology when the safety of an artifact cannot be guaranteed. In 2017, thanks to new technologies, the chest was removed and delivered to the Institute of Cultural Heritage of Spain. Here it was stabilized and preserved. There is no information about the contents of the chest. Most likely, the owner saved valuable things before the destruction of the villa. Carved stone balls. A Neolithic settlement in Scotland was the site of a unique find: hundreds of perfectly polished stone balls decorated with spirals and concentric circles. These artifacts, dating back to the 4 to 3 RD millennium BC, amaze with the high skill of stone processing. The balls are made from a variety of rocks, from brittle sandstone to durable granite, and demonstrate a care that is clearly not intended for utilitarian purposes. One theory suggests that the balls could have been slaying projectiles, but this is unlikely due to the amount of work put into their creation. Another hypothesis is their use as weights for scales, but the variety of shapes and ornaments casts doubt on this theory. Some researchers are inclined to believe that the balls had ritual significance. The ornaments could be symbolic, and the balls themselves were used in religious rituals. However, there is not yet sufficient evidence in favor of this theory, and the stone balls of Scotland remain one of the most intriguing mysteries of the European Neolithic. These enigmatic artifacts continue to generate interest and controversy among archaeologists, highlighting the richness and complexity of Neolithic culture. One of the oldest books, the Crosby-Cheyenne Codex, a rare manuscript that revolutionized the study of Christianity, was sold on June 11, 2024 at Christie's in London for nearly $3.9 million. Created in mid-4th century Egypt, this codex contains biblical and other early Christian texts, making it unique for the study of Christian history. The codex was found along with more than 20 other manuscripts near Dishna, Egypt in 1952. These documents are known as the Bodmer Papyri, named after the Swiss collector Martin Bodmer. The codex includes 5 early Christian texts in Coptic, including the earliest known texts of the Book of Jonah and 1 Peter. These texts are important for understanding early Christian literature and culture. The codex represents an early example of the transition from scroll to book. The codex consists of 104 pages of papyrus that were previously sewn together but are now behind protective plexiglass. This transitional period is important for the history of writing and books, as it indicates the evolution of writing technologies. The codex was rewritten by the same scribe, probably an Egyptian monk, in the 3rd century AD. He used freshly cut reeds as a feather. The preservation of the codex is explained by the dry climate of Egypt, which allowed it to survive more than 1,700 years. The Mayans sacrificed boys. Chichen Itza in Mexico is a popular tourist attraction, attracting approximately 2 million tourists annually. However, this ruined city hides a terrible secret. About 1,000 years ago, the Mayans committed ritual murders of children here. Radiocarbon dating of the remains by the Max Planck Institute for Evolutionary Anthropology showed that the victims were boys between the ages of 3 and 6, often twins. They were brutally killed with knives, spears, and axes, and the remains were thrown into the Chultun, underground chambers, which were considered the entrance to the world of the dead. The Mayans believed that the blood of sacrifices was a powerful source of nourishment for the gods, asking for rain and fertile fields in return. In Chichen Itza, stone slabs, Tzompantli, with images of the skulls of the dead have been preserved. In 1967, the remains of more than 100 children were found in a Chultun near the sacred cenote. Genetic analysis of 64 remains showed that they were all boys, including 2 pairs of monozygotic twins. 25% of the children were close relatives and had the same diet, which suggests that victims were deliberately selected from the same family. Twins played a special role in Mayan mythology, and the sacrifice of twins was a central theme of the holy book of the Popol Vuh. The blood rituals continued for more than 500 years, from 600 to 1100 AD, leaving behind a terrible legacy in the history of Chichen Itza. Ruins of a Minoan structure. During the construction of a new airport in Crete, archaeologists discovered a unique round structure with a diameter of about 48 m, about 4,000 years old. The Greek Ministry of Culture called the discovery extremely interesting. The building, with an area of 1,800 sqm, refers to the Bronze Age Minoan civilization, which existed on Crete from 3000 to 1450 BC. The Minoans were a highly advanced society known for their maritime trade and art. Experts believe that the building was used mainly in 2000 to 1700 BC, when the first palaces were built on Crete, such as Knossos and Fest. The exact purpose of the structure is unknown, but the animal bones found indicate the possibility of ritual ceremonies, including sacrifices. The interior space was divided into several halls and surrounded by 8 stepped stone walls, 1.7 m high. The dimensions and complex layout indicate the social significance of the building, which required significant labor and special knowledge. Mysterious stumps on the seashore. The purpose of the mysterious Bronze Age structure known as Seahenge has long puzzled archaeologists since its discovery in 1999 on a beach in Norfolk, England. However, recently, scientists seem to have unraveled its mystery. Seahenge, or Hill 1, is an upturned oak stump surrounded by 55 split trunks. It was built in the late spring of 2049 BC on a salt marsh protected by dunes and mudflats. Amateur archaeologist John Lorimer discovered the site when he spotted a bronze axe head in the sand. He started digging and found a tree stump with a ritual ring around it. This discovery caused strong protests from local residents, but archaeologists took Hill 1 to the Lynn Museum, where parts of it were protected with wax. Hill 2, found nearby and left in place, was almost completely destroyed by the tides. Archaeologists suggest that these structures were built to control the weather. In those days, the climate was harsh, with frosty winters and late springs, which greatly affected agriculture. The Seahenge logs were cut in the spring and positioned to coincide with sunrise on the summer solstice. This is due to the belief that the cuckoo, symbolizing fertility, returns to the other world, and with it, summer goes away. The ritual with the cuckoo was supposed to catch it in order to prolong the summer. At the center of Hill 2, sacrifices were made to Venus, which was believed to help agriculture. These rituals were performed every 8 years according to the cycle of Venus. Thus, both monuments sought, in different ways, to put an end to the harsh cold. Bronze circlips. During the Late Bronze Age, approximately between 1000 and 800 BC, miniature bronze rings of unusual shapes, often found in pairs, appeared across Europe. These artifacts, called retaining rings, are striking in their elegance and craftsmanship. They are decorated with the finest engraving, and some are even inlaid with gold. The name circlips comes from their unique shape, which is different from regular rings. The main question that concerns researchers is, what was their purpose? There are several versions, but none of them is indisputable. Some speculate that these rings could have been earrings or clothing buckles. However, given their diminutive size and sophistication, these theories are questionable. Perhaps the retaining rings were worn on the hair or used as amulets. They could serve as symbols of social status or membership in a particular group. Fine engraving and gold inlay indicate that these objects were important to their owners, perhaps emphasizing their high social status or special role in society. These bronze rings remain one of the mysteries of the Late Bronze Age, continuing to attract the attention of archaeologists and historians. They reflect the high level of skill and artistic taste of the ancient masters, as well as the complexity and diversity of the culture of that era. Manuscript about the childhood of Jesus. Scientists have discovered and deciphered an ancient papyrus containing rare records of the youth of Jesus Christ. The papyrus, which was found in the Hamburg State and University Library, went unnoticed until recently. Experts stumbled upon it by chance while analyzing manuscripts. What caught their attention was the name Jesus in the text, written in sloppy handwriting, indicating that the author may have been a student of a school or religious community in 4th or 5th century Egypt. The papyrus fragment, measuring 10 by 5 centimeters, contains 13 lines describing the story of how 5-year-old Jesus turns clay sparrows into living birds. This text is part of the Gospel of Thomas, an apocryphal scripture that tells the story of Jesus' life from age 5 to age 12. In one episode, Jesus plays by a stream and makes 12 sparrows from clay. His father, Joseph, notices this and scolds his son for working on the Sabbath, the holy day of rest. In response, Jesus commands the clay figurines to fly, and they come to life. Deciphering the text was a difficult task. Researchers, by comparing the letters with other digitized papyri, were able to gradually decipher the writing. The Gospel of Thomas was not included in the canonical Bible because it was not considered authentic. Traditional accounts of Jesus' life are limited to his birth, flight to Egypt, return to Nazareth, and visit to the Jerusalem temple. The reason for excluding the early life of Jesus from the Bible remains unclear. This find is significant for modern understanding of Christianity as it provides rare evidence of the early life of Jesus and his early followers. Guardian of the Great Wall of China. During the restoration of the Jiangkou section of the Great Wall of China, archaeologists made an amazing discovery. In one of the ancient defensive towers, they discovered a dragon statue. This section of the wall, built during the Ming Dynasty in the 1500s and early 1600s, stretches for 20 kilometers across a mountainous landscape and remains virtually untouched. Archaeologists from the Beijing Institute stumbled upon the dragon by first discovering its carved scales. After removing layers of soil, they revealed the tail, claws, and finally the head of the sculpture. Lead archaeologist Shang Heng noted the exquisite details, suggesting that the dragon adorned the roof of the tower. In addition to the dragon, the researchers found a European cannon brought to China during the Jiajing period. This demonstrates the cultural and military exchange between Europe and China at that time. These finds highlight the rich history of the Ming Dynasty, demonstrating the architectural mastery and strategic importance of the Great Wall of China. The wall remains a symbol of China's historical resilience and ingenuity, confirmed by new archaeological discoveries. Ultra-rare discovery. A rare mastodon tusk was found in Florida, which became a real sensation. 29-year-old Alex Lundberg, while diving with his friend near Venice Beach, came across this unique artifact. Typically, only prehistoric shark teeth and fragments of mammoth tusks are found in this area, which makes Lundberg's find especially valuable. Experts from the Bishop Bradenton Museum of Science and Nature confirmed the authenticity of the tusk, labeling it as ultra-rare. Lundberg has yet to notify the Florida Museum of Natural History to assess the scientific significance of the find. Mastodon tusks are typically only a few inches long and sell for $20 to $350. However, Lundberg's find could be worth about $5,000. Interestingly, the tusk did not fall apart when lifted from the seabed. Mastodons, which lived 5.4 million years ago and became extinct about 10,000 years ago, were relatives of modern elephants. Their fossils are usually found in Pliocene and Pleistocene sediments. Interestingly, mastodon fossils, including tusks, bones, and skulls, are typically found in only 4 U.S. states: Indiana, Colorado, California, and New York. The Florida find therefore represents a rare and significant discovery. Chalk drums. Archaeologists exploring Neolithic burials in England discovered objects resembling small drums. These artifacts, carved from chalk, are decorated with complex geometric patterns such as spirals, zigzags, and concentric circles. Despite their similarity to drums, it is impossible to use them for their intended purpose. Chalk is too fragile a material, and the objects do not show signs of wear, characteristic of musical instruments. The question arises, what is their true purpose? One version is that these items could have been children's toys. Other researchers believe that these are cult objects used in funeral rituals. Both of these options explain the presence of artifacts in the burials. Of particular interest is the theory that the patterns on these drums may represent an early form of writing, proto-writing. Perhaps ancient people were trying to record some important information using these patterns. However, despite the efforts of researchers, these mysterious symbols have not yet been deciphered. These unique artifacts continue to attract the attention of scientists, offering a glimpse into the past and an attempt to understand the thoughts and customs of our ancestors. The mystery of the Cretaceous drums remains one of the most intriguing mysteries of the Neolithic, highlighting the richness and complexity of the culture of the era. Stone needles. Archaeologists have discovered 6 ancient stone artifacts on the shores of Lake Chiaota Tso in Tibet. These finds may be the world's oldest stone needles, dating back approximately 9,000 years. The artifacts, found by student Yun Chen in 2020, resemble thick needles with a pointed end and a hole for thread. Their elegant design is amazing, as each needle is made with great effort. The scientists said the needles were made from hard materials such as tremolite and serpentine, suggesting they were used to sew thick materials, possibly tents. The scientists used ultra-deep microscopy and 3D modeling to study the techniques used to create them, including complex scraping and drilling processes. Particularly interesting was the discovery of traces of red paint on one of the needles. The color red had important cultural significance for the ancient Tibetans, symbolizing vital energy and protection from evil spirits. Some researchers believe that the needles could have been used to weave nets or as decorations. However, if these artifacts are indeed quills, it greatly advances our understanding of the ancient technology that allowed ancient people to create better shelters and clothing to survive harsh climates. Unique round burials. In December 2023, archaeologists from the Museum of Cultural History discovered a unique burial of infants in a quarry near Fredrikstad, Norway. Most of the 41 graves contain cremated remains of infants, a rarity for the period 800–200 BC. Scientists determined the age of those buried by thin fragments of cranial bones characteristic of infants. Each grave was surrounded by stone circles, and the remains were placed in urns or directly under the stones. Interestingly, cooking pits and fire pits were found near the graves, indicating rituals and gatherings associated with burials. The site may have been a meeting place for an ancient community where people mourned the loss of children. Mass graves of children are rare in archaeology. This discovery provides insight into the attitudes of ancient communities towards children, showing that they were an important part of society. And even thousands of years ago, people had great difficulty coping with the loss of their children. Tried to treat cancer. A study of 2 ancient skulls yielded surprising results. They showed signs of cancer and traces of attempts to treat it. These findings show that the ancient Egyptians knew about cancer and tried to fight it. Signs of this disease included severe tissue destruction and small metastases. Particularly interesting are the cut marks around the lesions, suggesting that the Egyptians may have attempted to remove the tumors surgically. The ancient Egyptians were famous for their medical knowledge. They knew how to treat fractures, treat injuries, make prosthetics, and even fill teeth. However, their ability to treat cancer was limited. Scientists studied 2 skulls from the Duckworth collection at the University of Cambridge. One skull belonged to a 35-year-old man with signs of cancer and surgical interventions. The other skull belonged to a woman over 50 years old with cancerous lesions and signs of healed injuries. The researchers stressed that studying ancient remains is fraught with difficulties, with incomplete skeletons and a lack of clinical history making conclusions difficult. However, these findings provide new insights into ancient medical practices and highlight the need for further research in paleontology.
5,000-year-old dwarven village. The village of Makunik, located on the border with Afghanistan, is unique for its small houses built thousands of years ago. The height of these houses does not exceed 1.5 meters, and modern Iranians can barely enter them without bending over. Inside these houses, local residents stood tall, as their height did not exceed 1.5 meters. The small stature of the inhabitants was due to a lack of food and vitamins, which slowed down the growth of bones. Also, marriages between close relatives due to isolation and lack of funds for travel contributed to this. Life in the village was difficult. The soil was poor, and the inhabitants grew only low-maintenance crops such as turnips and barley. The situation has changed with the development of infrastructure in Iran. The construction of roads made it possible to deliver a variety of food products to the village, including meat and grains. This resulted in each generation becoming 10 centimeters taller. Modern residents of Makunik are tall and healthy people thanks to subsidies and government support. Today, 700 people live in Makunika next to the small houses of their ancestors. They continue to farm, but now their bodies are strong and tall. The village's history illustrates how harsh conditions and poor soil made the inhabitants Lilliputians, and the development of infrastructure and government support restored them to normal growth and health.
1,500-year-old relic. Archaeologists from Innsbruck have discovered a rare ivory reliquary in an early Christian church in Irschen, southern Austria. This unique artifact, which is about 1,500 years old, is a box measuring approximately 20 by 30 centimeters, decorated with Christian symbols. A team of archaeologists led by Gerald Grabherr has been excavating the region since 2016. On August 4, 2022, they found the reliquary under the altar in the side chapel of the church. Although the artifact was damaged, researchers were able to identify it as a pyx, a round ivory container richly decorated with Christian motifs. This discovery was the first of its kind in Austria. There are about 40 such chests known throughout the world, and the last one was found about 100 years ago. Most pyx are kept in cathedral treasures or displayed in museums, making this find especially valuable. Ivory lying underground absorbs moisture, becomes soft, and is susceptible to destruction. Conservation of the artifact required careful and lengthy drying to prevent shrinkage and cracks. For 2 years, fragments of the reliquary were preserved for scientific analysis. Researchers are working on a 3D reconstruction of the pyx. This process will provide a deeper understanding of the history and significance of this unique find.
Large-scale horse burials. French archaeologists recently made a surprising discovery in Villiers-sur-Indre, discovering 9 large burials containing the remains of horses that lived about 2,000 years ago. The burials contain 28 horses, carefully placed on their right sides with their heads facing south. The remains of 2 dogs were found nearby with their heads facing west. These finds date back to the period of the Gallic Wars, approximately between 100 BC and 100 AD, when Julius Caesar was actively engaged in military operations. The burials attracted the attention of archaeologists for their features. The horses, only 1.2 meters tall, were typical of Gallic breeds. The method of their burial was similar to those previously found in other regions of France, indicating a possible ritual or ceremonial nature. Interestingly, all the horses found were adults, which rules out common diseases as the cause of their death. Scientists from France's National Institute for Preventive Archaeological Research are analyzing the bones to determine whether the horses died in battle or were part of an elaborate ritual. To solve the mystery, researchers took DNA samples from the bones and surrounding sediments to determine whether the horses were Gallic or used by Roman units.
Peaceful people in America. The sacred city of Corral Supe, located on a desert terrace in Peru, was discovered by archaeologists in 1948. This ancient city, estimated to be 5,000 years old, is recognized as one of the oldest in the Western Hemisphere and is considered the cradle of civilization in the Americas. The main architectural landmark of Corral is the Pyramid Mayor, almost 30 meters high and the size of 4 football fields. Built around 2600 BC, it is comparable in age to the ancient pyramids of Egypt. Radiocarbon dating of organic materials confirms that Corral Supe existed at the same time as the Egyptian pyramids. Artifacts found at Corral, such as the quipu, a system of knots used to store information, indicate a high level of development and influence on subsequent Andean civilizations. Architectural features, including pyramidal structures and elite residences, indicate a complex socio-political organization and a powerful religious ideology. The absence of traces of war, such as fortifications and weapons, indicates the peaceful nature of the society based on trade and pleasure. In 2009, Corral Soup was designated a UNESCO World Heritage Site for its architectural heritage and influence on later Andean civilizations.
Ancient wolf from permafrost. During an expedition in Siberia, an incredible discovery was made. An ancient wolf, surprisingly well preserved in permafrost. The discovered carcass of a wolf at a depth of about 40 meters near the Terektiak River in the Abiysky region of Yakutia was transferred to the Mammoth Museum in Yakutsk for further research. The condition of the wolf amazed scientists. After 44,000 years, fur, bones, organs, and even terrifying teeth were preserved. Experts are calling the discovery unprecedented because it is the oldest known wolf to undergo a necropsy. They hope that studying the stomach and other organs will shed light on the wolf's diet and environment. The stomach remained isolated and free of contaminants, providing an instant snapshot of ancient Pleistocene biota. Examination of its contents can reveal not only what the wolf ate, but also its prey. Judging by the wear of the teeth and the development of the sagittal ridge, it has already been established that this is an adult male. The study of ancient bacteria could help in the development of new drugs and biotech products, highlighting the enormous significance of this discovery for the future. This discovery not only reveals the secrets of the ancient world, but also opens up new horizons for science and medicine.
Golden tongues and images of the gods. Archaeologists from Egypt's Ministry of Tourism and Antiquities have uncovered an astonishing collection of artifacts during excavations at Tel el-Dir. The site has enriched Egypt's history with 63 mud brick tombs and other simple burials. The team uncovered a variety of artifacts, including gold foil pieces depicting gods such as Isis, Bastet, and Horus, as well as protective symbols and languages that allowed the deceased to speak before the court of Osiris in the afterlife. These foil fragments stand out for their craftsmanship and the variety of materials used. Numerous funerary offerings were also found, including amulets, Ushabti statues, figurines, coins, and a mirror, illustrating the burial customs of the 26th dynasty. Among the finds was a ceramic vessel containing 38 bronze coins from the Ptolemaic era depicting the head of Zeus Ammon. These coins, dated to the late 3rd century BC, may have been buried during a major revolt against the Ptolemaic dynasty around 206 BC. Alien creatures or unique people. In 2017, in a cave in the southern Peruvian city of Nazca, journalist and ufologist Jaime Mawson discovered 6 unusual mummies with elongated skulls and 3 fingers. He stated that they were alien creatures. The finds included 4 men, 1 woman, and an infant. Mawson presented the mummies before the Mexican Congress, claiming they were of alien origin. Despite his confidence, experts considered the mummies to be fakes. However, recent studies of one of the mummies, designated Maria M01, have yielded new unexpected results. Peruvian scientists analyzed Maria using electron microscopy and X-ray diffraction. It turned out that Maria has biological similarities with humans. Her bones smoothly pass under the mummified shell, and the elongated skull shows no signs of artificial deformation. The cranial vault shows atypical growth and development, and its volume is 30% greater than that of the average person. Maria is also distinguished by her lack of hair and ears, 3 fingers with 4 phalanges on her hands and feet, bulging eyes, and protruding jaws. Mary's feet have a unique structure. The calcaneus is different from a human's, suggesting it walked hunched over. Maria also suffered from arthritis and had a damaged spine. Maria lived during the same period as the Nazca civilization. This may indicate her connection with this culture. Previous DNA studies suggested that the mummies were modified remains of pre-Columbian people. The new study raises more questions than it answers. Scientists cannot accurately determine Mary's origins or her unique characteristics. Further research, including genetic tests, is needed to fully understand these remains. The fact that the ancient alien mummy bears many similarities to a real person further complicates understanding our past. Now it is even more difficult for us to understand who lived on our planet hundreds and thousands of years ago. The oldest alphabet has been deciphered. Since 1964, archaeologists have discovered 15 tablets with mysterious carvings at an ancient settlement site in Jordan. Recent analysis has shown that the tablets were likely created by the Canaanites, an ancient Semitic people who lived in what is now Israel, Palestine, Lebanon, and parts of Jordan and Syria. Research has revealed that the tablets contain 29 unique symbols written from left to right. These symbols include dots, vertical stripes, and abstract designs. Scientists believe that the inscriptions are cult proverbs associated with a religious temple. Some signs, such as a symbol resembling an eye, have been identified as ayin, which means eye in Hebrew. These parallels have helped begin the decipherment. The Canaanites inhabited Canaan from 3500 to 1200 BC until they were conquered by the Israelite tribes. They are mentioned in the Old Testament. Interestingly, the Canaanite alphabet became the basis for the Phoenician script, which in turn influenced the Greek and Latin alphabets. Egyptian sarcophagus and the Simpsons. Archaeologists have discovered something unique in an Egyptian tomb, a 3,500-year-old sarcophagus depicting Marge Simpson from the popular modern animated series. The lid of the sarcophagus depicts a yellow-skinned woman wearing a green dress and a blue crown, reminiscent of Marge's famous hairstyle. But in fact, the sarcophagus belongs to the New Kingdom and depicts the goddess Nut. The tomb belonged to a 16-year-old girl whose parents probably did not have much money. However, they tried to do everything possible for a dignified burial of their daughter. As for such a coincidence, there are two options. Either the Egyptians predicted The Simpsons, or the creator of the series, Matt Groening, has secret knowledge about ancient cultures. Also, amulets, jewelry, and stone and wooden sarcophagi were found in the tomb. New Kingdom sarcophagi were often decorated with carvings and paintings depicting the dead, deities, and scenes from the Book of the Dead. What do you think? Why was the coincidence so realistic? Write your opinion in the comments. The painful death of the Screaming Woman. In 1935, a mysterious mummy was found near Luxor, Egypt, dubbed the Screaming Woman because of her horrific open-mouthed expression. Scientists believe that the woman may have died from extreme pain leading to cadaveric spasm, which fixed her face in a scream. The mummy was discovered by an archaeological expedition from the Metropolitan Museum of Art in New York City in the tomb of Sinmut, the chief architect of Queen Hatshepsut. The tomb also contained a burial chamber for his mother and other relatives. Despite the rich burial, the identity of the Screaming Woman and the reason for her facial expressions remained a mystery for almost a century. Archaeologists conducted a detailed study of the mummy using CT scanning and infrared photography. A virtual autopsy revealed that the woman was about 48 years old, stood about 150 centimeters tall, and suffered from mild arthritis. Remarkably, her internal organs, such as her brain, heart, and lungs, were intact, which was not consistent with the usual mummification practices of the New Kingdom. Her burial included a black wig made of date palm fibers treated with minerals and 2 rings with jasper scarabs, indicating her high social status. Dr. Salem suggested that her facial expression may have been the result of cadaveric spasm, a rare condition in which muscles used heavily before death freeze, indicating possible suffering or extreme stress. The embalmers mummified her body before it began to decompose or relax, keeping her mouth open. 1,500-year-old relic. Archaeologists from Innsbruck have discovered a rare ivory reliquary in an early Christian church in Irschen, southern Austria. This unique artifact, which is about 1,500 years old, is a box measuring approximately 20 by 30 centimeters, decorated with Christian symbols. A team of archaeologists led by Gerald Grabherr has been excavating the region since 2016. On August 4, 2022, they found the reliquary under the altar in the side chapel of the church. Although the artifact was damaged, researchers were able to identify it as a pyx, a round ivory container richly decorated with Christian motifs. This discovery was the first of its kind in Austria. There are about 40 such chests known throughout the world, and the last one was found about 100 years ago. Most pyx are kept in cathedral treasures or displayed in museums, making this find especially valuable. Ivory lying underground absorbs moisture, becomes soft, and is susceptible to destruction. Conservation of the artifact required careful and lengthy drying to prevent shrinkage and cracks. For 2 years, fragments of the reliquary were preserved for scientific analysis. Researchers are working on a 3D reconstruction of the pyx. This process will provide a deeper understanding of the history and significance of this unique find. Beer Quarry Cave. This Roman quarry was once a refuge for smugglers and is now home to rare species of bat. The beer stone quarried here was an important building material in Roman times. 2,000 years of quarrying has created a winding system of caves near the village of Beer, which gives the stone its name. The first Romans to arrive in Devon noticed the limestone cliffs at the mouth of the River Exe. They discovered veins of fine-grained limestone and began quarrying it. When the surface supply was exhausted, the Romans dug deeper into the cliffs, quarrying the stone with picks and wooden wedges. The stone was used to build important public buildings. The stone was transported to the river and shipped out by boat. After the Romans left, the quarries were used by the Saxons. Their quarries had sharp, square corners, as opposed to the rounded Roman ones. Beer stone was easy to work but hardened in the air, becoming stronger. It was cut on site and used to build buildings such as Windsor Castle, London Bridge, and Westminster Abbey. The stone was also used in the construction of Christ Church Cathedral in St. Louis, USA. After the Protestant Reformation, Catholics held secret masses in these caves. In the early 19th century, smugglers, including Jack Rattenbury, used the caves to hide contraband from ships. Mining ceased in the early 20th century when a new site was discovered. These caves are now of particular scientific interest due to the rare bats that inhabit them. Egyptian sarcophagus and the Simpsons. Archaeologists have discovered something unique in an Egyptian tomb, a 3,500-year-old sarcophagus depicting Marge Simpson from the popular modern animated series. The lid of the sarcophagus depicts a yellow-skinned woman wearing a green dress and a blue crown, reminiscent of Marge's famous hairstyle. But in fact, the sarcophagus belongs to the New Kingdom and depicts the goddess Nut. The tomb belonged to a 16-year-old girl whose parents probably did not have much money. However, they tried to do everything possible for a dignified burial of their daughter. As for such a coincidence, there are two options. Either the Egyptians predicted The Simpsons, or the creator of the series, Matt Groening, has secret knowledge about ancient cultures. Also, amulets, jewelry, and stone and wooden sarcophagi were found in the tomb. New Kingdom sarcophagi were often decorated with carvings and paintings depicting the dead, deities, and scenes from the Book of the Dead. What do you think? Why was the coincidence so realistic? Write your opinion in the comments. Unraveling the secrets of mass death. During excavations in the ancient city of Aswan on the Nile, archaeologists discovered 30 tombs dating back to the Greco-Roman period. These burials, found on a hill, contain mummies of children and parents, coffins, papier-mâché masks, amphorae with vine leaf patterns, and offering tables. Ancient oil lamps left by mourners were also found. The necropolis is unique in its terraced arrangement. 10 levels of tombs are built one above the other into the hill, which distinguishes it from the usual 2-3 level Egyptian burials. This site was used for about 900 years, starting from the 6th century BC until the 3rd century AD, when Egypt was ruled by the Persians, the Ptolemaic dynasty, and the Romans. Studies have shown that 30 to 40% of mummies belong to newborns and children under 2 years of age. Using X-rays, Connecticut scans, and DNA analysis, archaeologists and doctors at the University Hospital in Aswan found that the main causes of death were anemia and infectious diseases, even among rich people. A study of the mummy's spines confirmed the presence of tuberculosis, which could destroy entire families. Fabric dyed with insects. Scientists have examined fragments of dyed fabric found in the Israeli Skulls Cave. These pieces of textiles date back to the Middle Bronze Age. The scientists' research has shown that the dye for the fabric was made from dried insects, Mediterranean kermes. Even in ancient times, people learned to make paints from living creatures. In the Mediterranean, the most expensive dye was purple, obtained from the secretion of the glands of sea mollusks. Another valuable red dye was made from dried female scale insects, such as the Mediterranean kermes, which live on oak trees. Written evidence of the use of such dyes is found in cuneiform texts from the Nutsi archive and the Old Testament. Archaeologists have also found kermes in Neolithic vessels in France, although they were most likely used for magical or medicinal purposes. The earliest fragments of textiles dyed with kermes come from ancient salt mines in Austria from 1400–400 BC. Kermes was also used to dye the legendary Pazyryk carpet in Altai. Peaceful people in America. The sacred city of Corral Supe, located on a desert terrace in Peru, was discovered by archaeologists in 1948. This ancient city, estimated to be 5,000 years old, is recognized as one of the oldest in the Western Hemisphere and is considered the cradle of civilization in the Americas. The main architectural landmark of Caral is the Pyramid Mayor, almost 30 meters high and the size of 4 football fields. Built around 2600 BC, it is comparable in age to the ancient pyramids of Egypt. Radiocarbon dating of organic materials confirms that Caral Soupe existed at the same time as the Egyptian pyramids. Artifacts found at Caral, such as the quipu, a system of knots used to store information, indicate a high level of development and influence on subsequent Andean civilizations. Architectural features, including pyramidal structures and elite residences, indicate a complex socio-political organization and a powerful religious ideology. The absence of traces of war, such as fortifications and weapons, indicates the peaceful nature of the society based on trade and pleasure. In 2009, Caral Soupe was designated a UNESCO World Heritage Site for its architectural heritage and influence on later Andean civilizations. There's madness in his eyes. During excavations in Herculaneum, a city destroyed by the eruption of Vesuvius in 79 AD, an ancient bronze bust of the Roman Emperor Caligula was found. The 12-centimeter-high bust was discovered in the 17th century, but its trace was later lost for almost 200 years. Experts believe that the bust was cast shortly before or after Caligula's death, about 2,000 years ago. The bust of Caligula depicts him with a high forehead, thin lips, a small mouth, and a prominent chin. The eyes of the sculpture unmistakably convey the madness that is often associated with this emperor. Caligula, the third representative of the Julio-Claudian dynasty, is known for his riotous lifestyle and incest. He was killed in 41 AD as a result of a palace coup. After its initial discovery, the bust was given as a gift to the famous English writer and politician Horace Walpole. Walpole admired the expressiveness of Caligula's face, believing that the emperor was captured at the beginning of his madness. The bust was kept in Walpole's mansion, Strawberry Hill House, and after his death passed through hands until it disappeared for 200 years. The bust was recently rediscovered by Oxford University historian Sylvia Davoli, calling the event fascinating. Each object found helps to better understand the life of the ancient Romans. The bust of Caligula is an important archaeological find that sheds light on Roman history and culture. Unraveling the secrets of mass death. During excavations in the ancient city of Aswan on the Nile, archaeologists discovered 30 tombs dating back to the Greco-Roman period. These burials, found on a hill, contain mummies of children and parents, coffins, papier-mâché masks, amphorae with vine leaf patterns, and offering tables. Ancient oil lamps left by mourners were also found. The necropolis is unique in its terraced arrangement. 10 levels of tombs are built one above the other into the hill, which distinguishes it from the usual 2-3 level Egyptian burials. This site was used for about 900 years, starting from the 6th century BC until the 3rd century AD, when Egypt was ruled by the Persians, the Ptolemaic dynasty, and the Romans. Studies have shown that 30 to 40% of mummies belong to newborns and children under 2 years of age. Using X-rays, kinetic scans, and DNA analysis, archaeologists and doctors at the University Hospital in Aswan found that the main causes of death were anemia and infectious diseases, even among rich people. A study of the mummy's spines confirmed the presence of tuberculosis, which could destroy entire families. Ancient image of psychoactive mushrooms. The Tassili in Ejer cave, located in the southeastern part of Algeria, is a real treasure trove of prehistoric art. This site is known for its rich rock art spanning thousands of years. Particularly noteworthy is a painting created about 9,000 years ago depicting a shaman with psychedelic mushrooms. This unique artifact provides a window into the spiritual and cultural practices of ancient hunter-gatherers. This painting was first documented by French archaeologist Henri Lotte and his team in the 1950s. They were amazed by the brightness and complexity of the images, among which stood out the figure of a shaman with mushrooms of the genus psilocybe, known for their psychoactive properties. The shaman is depicted with an ornate headdress and war paint, indicating his ritual role. The shaman's posture and facial expression clearly demonstrate a state of trance. Psychedelic mushrooms played an important role in shamanic rituals, as evidenced by numerous examples from various cultures. In ancient societies, shamans used mushrooms to achieve an altered state of consciousness and communicate with the spirit world. The Tassili cave paintings indicate that similar practices existed in North Africa. The image of a shaman surrounded by mushrooms and other symbols carries a deep meaning. The headdress and coloring emphasize the high status of the shaman in society, and the mushrooms emphasize their sacred role in rituals. The trance state indicates the shaman's journey beyond the physical world, which was an important part of their spiritual practice. Scientists brewed an ancient drink. Israeli researchers decided to plunge into the world of experimental archaeology and create a drink that our ancestors drank. It all started with the discovery of yeast residues in ancient clay shards during excavations in Israel. These specimens, dating back to 3000 BC, were found in various locations, including Tel Aviv, Jerusalem, and an Egyptian brewery near the Gaza Strip. Archaeologists and microbiologists have teamed up to study and resurrect ancient yeast. Researchers were able to bring yeast colonies back to life and use them to create an ancient drink that tastes like the beer that the Philistines and Egyptians drank. For the experiment, scientists used recipes for ancient drinks, creating beer and mead. Some modern changes were made to the brewing process, such as the addition of hops, which were not present in the ancient Near East. This made it possible to create a drink with a unique taste, combining ancient traditions and modern technologies. According to Shmuel Naki, a brewer at the Jerusalem Beer Center, the drink tasted spicy, a little fruity, and very complex. Yeast played a key role in creating these flavor characteristics, confirming the importance of its use in brewing. The success of this experiment inspired scientists and brewers to further research. The team's plans include using the revived yeast to create new types of beer based on ancient recipes. This cooperation will not only expand the line of Israeli beer, but also provide a deeper understanding of the culture and traditions of ancient peoples. Would you like to try a drink based on ancient yeast? Could you go that deep into the history of brewing? Alphabet of a Lost Civilization. Spanish archaeologists from the University of Barcelona discovered tablets with drawings of the Tartessian civilization of the Bronze Age. The excavations took place at Casas del Turunuelo in the southwest of the Iberian Peninsula, as reported by Spain's Supreme Council for Scientific Research. Tartessus was an ancient civilization that flourished on the Iberian Peninsula in the 8th century BC, known for its sophisticated writing. By the 4th century BC, the Tartessians disappeared. The found tablet, dating back to the 6th to 5th centuries BC, contains 21 symbols of Paleo-Spanish writing and a scene of a battle between 3 warriors. This find will help scientists learn more about the culture, clothing, and weapons of the Tartessians. The study of such artifacts opens up new perspectives in understanding this mysterious civilization and its disappearance. Women are not allowed to see this mask. Oxford University's Pitt Rivers Museum has removed from display a wooden mask made by the Igbo people of Nigeria. According to the beliefs of this people, the mask is forbidden to be seen by women, and only men are allowed to use it during ceremonies and rituals. The museum posted a cultural safety warning sign and removed the image of the mask from its website. The Igbo mask has deep cultural significance, symbolizing spiritual strength and protecting the tribe's traditions. It was used exclusively by men, which emphasizes its importance in religious and social rituals. Art critic Ruth Millington noted that denying all women access to an artifact because of one culture's taboo is an extreme measure. She believes that women should have the right to decide for themselves whether they want to see a mask, familiarizing themselves with its cultural characteristics. The oldest liquid wine. Spanish scientists have discovered a glass urn containing cremated remains and a liquid that turns out to be the oldest known wine in an ancient Roman underground mausoleum in Carmona. The age of the find is about 2,000 years. Carmona, located in Andalusia, was a major city in the Roman province of Baetica in the 1st centuries AD. The city preserves the ruins of an amphitheater and necropolis, where archaeological discoveries are still ongoing. In 2019, archaeologists found the entrance to an underground tomb believed to have belonged to a wealthy family. Inside, they found 8 urn niches, 6 of which contained cremated remains. One of the glass urns also contained a gold ring with an image of Janus and a red liquid. Chemical analysis confirmed that this is wine that has changed color due to chemical processes over 2,000 years. The use of wine in Roman funeral rituals is well documented. Wine was added to the urn after cremated remains were placed to aid the deceased in the afterlife. This find is an important evidence of Roman customs and confirmation of the longevity of their traditions. Previously, other interesting artifacts were found in the mausoleum, such as an ancient Roman ungventarium with the remains of a perfusion tube made from patchouli essential oil.
Treasure from the seabed. Archaeologists have discovered 2 sunken ships from the Ming Dynasty in the South China Sea that have lain on the bottom for almost 500 years. More than 900 unique artifacts were found on these ships, from copper coins to fine porcelain. The Ming Dynasty is known for its artistic achievements and vigorous trade. Chinese ships sailed to India and Europe, where blue and white porcelain was extremely popular. Some ships ended their journey at the bottom of the sea, leaving behind time capsules. In 2022, 2 merchant ships were found at a depth of almost 1,500 meters and at a distance of about 22 kilometers from each other. In 2023, researchers began studying and collecting artifacts. Submersibles were used to retrieve objects, and cameras and lasers were used to create 3D maps. 890 objects were recovered from the first ship, including copper coins and porcelain. From the second, 38 artifacts such as deer antlers and ceramics. The ships may have sailed from Jingdezhen, a porcelain export center. The discovered items are striking examples of Ming-era art. The ships became important witnesses to trade and cultural exchanges along the maritime Silk Road. The longest mound in Europe. Archaeologists in eastern Bohemia have found the longest Neolithic mound in Europe, about 5,300 years old. The discovery was made in June during roadwork in the Hradec Kralove area. The mound near the village of Dogalice, about 190 meters long and up to 15 meters wide, belongs to the funnel beaker culture. Although the above-ground structure has been lost due to agricultural activity, archaeologists have excavated its entrance, identified by a preserved pit and ditch. Inside the mound, 2 central burials were found, probably belonging to important persons, and 28 additional graves. These burials will undergo further laboratory analysis for accurate dating. The first central burial included a pit with drains and post holes, as well as a ceramic offering vessel. The second burial had no internal structure, but the body was laid on its left side. Archaeologists also found funerary objects such as pottery fragments, flint arrowheads, and a blade. These finds provide valuable information about the burial practices and cultural traditions of the time.
Scientists brewed an ancient drink. Israeli researchers decided to plunge into the world of experimental archaeology and create a drink that our ancestors drank. It all started with the discovery of yeast residues in ancient clay shards during excavations in Israel. These specimens, dating back to 3000 BC, were found in various locations, including Tel Aviv, Jerusalem, and an Egyptian brewery near the Gaza Strip. Archaeologists and microbiologists have teamed up to study and resurrect ancient yeast. Researchers were able to bring yeast colonies back to life and use them to create an ancient drink that tastes like the beer that the Philistines and Egyptians drank. For the experiment, scientists used recipes for ancient drinks, creating beer and mead. Some modern changes were made to the brewing process, such as the addition of hops, which were not present in the ancient Near East. This made it possible to create a drink with a unique taste, combining ancient traditions and modern technologies. According to Shmuel Naki, a brewer at the Jerusalem Beer Center, the drink tasted spicy, a little fruity, and very complex. Yeast played a key role in creating these flavor characteristics, confirming the importance of its use in brewing. The success of this experiment inspired scientists and brewers to further research. The team's plans include using the revived yeast to create new types of beer based on ancient recipes. This cooperation will not only expand the line of Israeli beer, but also provide a deeper understanding of the culture and traditions of ancient peoples. Grave of the Short Horses. French archaeologists discovered 9 large graves containing the remains of 28 6-year-old stallions buried on their right sides with their heads to the south and 2 dogs with their heads to the west. These finds, radiocarbon dated, date back to the end of the Roman conquest of Gaul and the beginning of the Roman Empire between the 1st century BC and 1st century AD. Experts are considering theories that the animals could have been buried after being killed in battle or as part of an elaborate ritual. The possibility of death from disease is unlikely, since only adult males were found in the graves. The The remains are checked for parasites. The graves were found in Villedieu-sur-André in central France, where the foundations of ancient buildings, ditches, and a medieval road had previously been discovered. The first grave contained 10 complete horse skeletons, neatly arranged in 2 rows. A similar burial was found in 2002 in the Puy-de-Dôme, containing the remains of 8 warriors and their horses. Ancient structure in the Black Sea. Off the coast of Abkhazia, scientists, as part of an international underwater archaeological expedition, discovered important archaeological finds. Using special equipment and divers, they explored depths from 1 to 60 meters in the waters of the cities of Gudauta and Sukhum. The most significant find was the discovery of the remains of a medieval structure in Sukhumi Bay at the mouth of the Bezletka River, where the ancient city of Dioscuria was supposedly located. In this area, where an ancient stele had previously been found, archaeologists discovered semicircular masonry, probably a tower with attached walls. It is made of large pebbles. With lime mortar, the masonry contains ceramics. Due to the large amount of sand and silt in the water, it was difficult to photograph the object, so a detailed survey of it is planned for 2024 to 2025. In the waters of the city of Gudauta, archaeologists found many vessels from the ancient and medieval periods, including an amphora at a depth of 50 meters. Tried to treat cancer. A study of 2 ancient skulls yielded surprising results. They showed signs of cancer and traces of attempts to treat it. These findings show that the ancient Egyptians knew about cancer and tried to fight it. Signs of this disease included severe tissue destruction and small metastases. Particularly interesting are the cut marks around the lesions, suggesting that the Egyptians may have attempted to remove the tumors surgically. The ancient Egyptians were famous for their medical knowledge. They knew how to treat fractures, treat injuries, make prosthetics, and even fill teeth. However, their ability to treat cancer was limited. Scientists studied 2 skulls from the Duckworth collection at the University of Cambridge. One skull belonged to a 35-year-old man with signs of cancer and surgical interventions. The other skull belonged to a woman over 50 years old with cancerous lesions and signs of healed injuries. The researchers stressed that studying ancient remains is fraught with difficulties, with incomplete skeletons and a lack of clinical history making conclusions difficult. However, these findings provide new insights into ancient medical practices and highlight the need for further research in paleontology. Remains of a mammoth in Kyrgyzstan. On June 2nd, a tusk and fragments of the lower jaw of a mammoth were discovered in the floodplain of the Jurgalan River in the Issyk-Kul region of Kyrgyzstan. Archaeologists who arrived at the request of the Ministry of Culture found that the fragments were located at a depth of 5 meters and at a distance of 150 meters from each other. Due to the poor state of preservation of the bones, archaeologists took extra care to ensure their preservation, as bones deteriorate quickly when exposed to sunlight. Specialists were able to extract only part of the skull, which was cleaned and preserved on site. The discovery of remains in 2 different locations in the same quarry indicates that the area is promising for future finds. Officials called on citizens to ensure the safety of historical and cultural heritage sites and report findings to archaeologists. Ancient image of psychoactive mushrooms. The Tassili in Eger cave, located in the southeastern part of Algeria, is a real treasure trove of prehistoric art. This site is known for its rich rock art spanning thousands of years. Particularly noteworthy is a painting created about 9,000 years ago depicting a shaman with psychedelic mushrooms. This unique artifact provides a window into the spiritual and cultural practices of ancient hunter-gatherers. This painting was first documented by French archaeologist Henri Lotte and his team in the 1950s. They were amazed by the brightness and complexity of the images, among which stood out the figure of a shaman with mushrooms of the genus psilocybe, known for their psychoactive properties. The shaman is depicted with an ornate headdress and war paint indicating his ritual role. The shaman's posture and facial expression clearly demonstrate a state of trance. Psychedelic mushrooms played an important role in shamanic rituals, as evidenced by numerous examples from various cultures. In ancient societies, shamans used mushrooms to achieve an altered state of consciousness and communicate with the spirit world. The Tassili cave paintings indicate that similar practices existed in North Africa. The image of a shaman surrounded by mushrooms and other symbols carries a deep meaning. The headdress and coloring emphasize the high status of the shaman in society, and the mushrooms emphasize their sacred role in rituals. The trance state indicates the shaman's journey beyond the physical world, which was an important part of their spiritual practice. Guillotine of Caravaggio's Sanctuary. The guillotine was proposed as a humane method of execution by Dr. Joseph Guillotin in 1791. He believed that it would provide a quick and painless decapitation, unlike other methods that could cause long and painful agony due to the lack of skill of the executioner. However, long before the French Revolution, this device was already used in other countries. In Ireland and Scotland, the guillotine was called the Scottish Maid, in France, the furniture of justice, and in Italy it was known as the mandala. In one of the cellars in Italy, in the sanctuary of Santa Maria del Fonte, in the village of Caravaggio, there is a guillotine that predates the French Revolution by more than 2 centuries. The sanctuary of Santa Maria del Fonte is famous for the legend of the appearance of Saint Mary to the shepherdess on May 26, 1432. Under this monumental structure, there is a corridor divided into 5 sections. One of them contains a primitive guillotine associated with the legend of the miracle. In 1520, a robber sentenced to death repented and asked Mary for forgiveness. It is said that the guillotine refused to behead him, sparing his life. This is one of the miracles associated with Saint Mary. The guillotine in the sanctuary is different from the French one. It is small and primitive. The blade was secured under a heavy log which was released and slid along the guides, decapitating the condemned man.
Ancient wolf from permafrost. During an expedition in Siberia, an incredible discovery was made. An ancient wolf, surprisingly well preserved in permafrost. The discovered carcass of a wolf at a depth of about 40 meters near the Terektiak River in the Abiysky region of Yakutia was transferred to the Mammoth Museum in Yakutsk for further research. The condition of the wolf amazed scientists. After 44,000 years, fur, bones, organs, and even terrifying teeth were preserved. Experts are calling the discovery unprecedented because it is the oldest known wolf to undergo a necropsy. They hope that studying the stomach and other organs will shed light on the wolf's diet and environment. The stomach remained isolated and free of contaminants, providing an instant snapshot of ancient Pleistocene biota. Examination of its contents can reveal not only what the wolf ate, but also its prey. Judging by the wear of the teeth and the development of the sagittal ridge, it has already been established that this is an adult male. The study of ancient bacteria could help in the development of new drugs and biotech products, highlighting the enormous significance of this discovery for the future. This discovery not only reveals the secrets of the ancient world, but also opens up new horizons for science and medicine.
Ancient Roman coins in Israel. A recent discovery by archaeologists in Lod, central Israel, provides invaluable insight into the life of Jews in the ancient Roman era. During excavations, impressive stone and marble artifacts, inscriptions in Greek, Latin, and Hebrew, and a treasure of 94 coins were found among the ruins of the building. These finds, especially the absence of pig bones among the animal remains, indicate the building's connection to the Jewish community. Experts date the find to the time of the Jewish uprising against Constantius Gallus in 354 AD. Historians claim that the treasure was hidden during the uprising. Written evidence of these events is scanty, but it is known that large Jewish communities such as Lod, Zippori, and Tiberias were destroyed by Roman troops. 2 excavation experts, Shahar Crispin and Mor Wiesel, noted that the building likely served as a home for the city's elders. It was destroyed to the very foundation, which demonstrates the strength and brutality of the suppression of the uprising. According to experts, this is the only evidence of the scale of the uprising in Lod. This site was the most important Jewish center after the destruction of the Second Temple in Jerusalem. The building, destroyed to the foundation, confirms the significance of the uprising and its suppression. The findings prove that Lod is one of the oldest cities in the world with a rich Jewish heritage from the Tannaitic period, where the authors of the Mishnah lived. It is still difficult to determine the exact purpose of the building: a synagogue, an educational institution, or a meeting place for elders. However, the size of the building, treasure, and other finds correspond to the description of Lod in Jewish and non-Jewish sources, where it appears as the center of Jewish life in the era of the Mishnah and Talmud. George Washington canned fruit. Archaeologists have found convincing evidence of the love of the first U.S. President George Washington for canned fruits and berries, especially cherries. This unexpected discovery was made while exploring Washington's country estate. In underground storage facilities, archaeologists found 35 glass jars with canned fruit, of which 29 were completely intact. Even whole pieces of fruit were preserved in the bottles. Experts determined that 12 containers were filled with canned cherries and the rest were probably filled with gooseberries and currants. Surprisingly, some fruits can even be edible after 250 years. This discovery is very impressive. Historical records document George Washington and his wife Martha's love of canned fruit, especially brandy-infused cherries. Martha Washington's Cherry Bounce cocktail recipe was also found. Archaeologists believe that the Washington servants and slaves were engaged in canning fruit. They possessed real skill, thanks to which the fruits have been preserved to this day. The cherry pits found will also be tested, and perhaps they will be used to grow trees that grew during Washington's lifetime. Alien creatures or unique people. In 2017, in a cave in the southern Peruvian city of Nazca, journalist and ufologist Jaime Mawson discovered 6 unusual mummies with elongated skulls and 3 fingers. He stated that they were alien creatures. The finds included 4 men, 1 woman, and an infant. Mawson presented the mummies before the Mexican Congress, claiming they were of alien origin. Despite his confidence, experts considered the mummies to be fakes. However, recent studies of one of the mummies, designated Maria M01, have yielded new unexpected results. Peruvian scientists analyzed Maria using electron microscopy and X-ray diffraction. It turned out that Maria has biological similarities with humans. Her bones smoothly pass under the mummified shell, and the elongated skull shows no signs of artificial deformation. The cranial vault shows atypical growth and development, and its volume is 30% greater than that of the average person. Maria is also distinguished by her lack of hair and ears, 3 fingers with 4 phalanges on her hands and feet, bulging eyes, and protruding jaws. Mary's feet have a unique structure. The calcaneus is different from a human's, suggesting it walked hunched over. Maria also suffered from arthritis and had a damaged spine. Maria lived during the same period as the Nazca civilization. This may indicate her connection with this culture. Previous DNA studies suggested that the mummies were modified remains of pre-Columbian people. The new study raises more questions than it answers. Scientists cannot accurately determine Mary's origins or her unique characteristics. Further research, including genetic tests, is needed to fully understand these remains. The fact that the ancient alien mummy bears many similarities to a real person further complicates understanding our past. Now it is even more difficult for us to understand who lived on our planet hundreds and thousands of years ago. Ancient treasure ship. The team of the One Expedition Research Project discovered a sunken Finnish ship from the late 19th, early 20th centuries at the bottom of Lake Ladoga at a depth of 34 meters. The ship sank, probably due to an explosion inside, which destroyed the wheelhouse. A binnacle, telegraph, and steering wheel were found on the deck. Ceramic cups with pearls were found in the hold. The ship features a Leviathan symbol on both sides, which may indicate its pirate past. The finds also included a ship's bell, ceramic vessels, a porcelain wash basin, and bricks with the inscription Höganäs, made in Sweden. The discovered artifacts will be sent to the Underwater Heritage Center for further study. These finds may shed light on the history and purpose of this mysterious vessel, which is of great interest to scientists. Communion set. A research project by the National Archaeological Institute made a rare find near Lake Tisa, a silver communion set and a hoard of 70 silver coins. These artifacts were discovered at the site of the ruins of a Benedictine abbey discovered in 2023. The silver set, consisting of a bowl and wafer stand, dates from the 14th century and was probably part of a burial. In addition, a treasure of 70 silver coins dating from the 13th and 14th centuries was found by volunteers during excavations. These finds indicate the rich history of the region and its importance in the Middle Ages. The Archaeometric Laboratory continues work on the analysis and restoration of these valuable finds. Artifacts dating from prehistoric times to the present day will provide insight into the history of the region and its role in Hungarian history.
5,000-year-old dwarven village. The village of Makunik, located on the border with Afghanistan, is unique for its small houses built thousands of years ago. The height of these houses does not exceed 1.5 meters, and modern Iranians can barely enter them without bending over. Inside these houses, local residents stood tall, as their height did not exceed 1.5 meters. The small stature of the inhabitants was due to a lack of food and vitamins, which slowed down the growth of bones. Also, marriages between close relatives due to isolation and lack of funds for travel contributed to this. Life in the village was difficult. The soil was poor, and the inhabitants grew only low-maintenance crops such as turnips and barley. The situation has changed with the development of infrastructure in Iran. The construction of roads made it possible to deliver a variety of food products to the village, including meat and grains. This resulted in each generation becoming 10 centimeters taller. Modern residents of Makunik are tall and healthy people thanks to subsidies and government support. Today, 700 people live in Makunika next to the small houses of their ancestors. They continue to farm, but now their bodies are strong and tall. The village's history illustrates how harsh conditions and poor soil made the inhabitants Lilliputians, and the development of infrastructure and government support restored them to normal growth and health. 1,000-year-old collection of medieval games. Archaeologists have discovered a collection of medieval gaming items in a forgotten castle in southern Germany. Among the finds are a well-preserved chess piece, game pieces, and bones dating from the 11th to 12th centuries. These items provide a unique insight into early gaming culture. Particularly significant is the found chess piece in the form of a knight, which dates back to the early period of the spread of chess in Europe. Laboratory tests showed that one of the sides played with red pieces. Traces of use on the figure indicate that the rules of the game have been preserved to this day. In the Middle Ages, chess was one of the 7 skills that a good knight had to master. This explains why many chess piece finds come from castles. In addition to the chess piece, floral game pieces and a 6-dot dice carved from antlers were found. These artifacts, found under the rubble of the wall, allow scientists to gain a deeper understanding of the gaming culture of the medieval nobility. In the future, the researchers plan to conduct further analyses to learn more about the origins of European chess and the significance of the games in the lives of medieval knights. List of Roman centurions. Polish archaeologists have discovered unique papyri with lists of Roman centurions who served in Egypt in the ancient port of Berenice. These rare documents were found along with Italian pottery, Roman coins, and a special buckle in the ruined office of a centurion. Berenice, located on the Red Sea, was built by Emperor Tiberius after the annexation of Egypt by Rome. The discovered papyri contain letters from centurions with the names Caosus, Licinius, and Petronius. In one of the letters, Petronius asks Licinius about the prices of exclusive goods and instructs them to be sent with legionaries on camels. These letters provide unique insight into the trade and daily life of the Roman military. Artifacts found alongside the papyri include Roman coins, brooches, and pottery from Italy, the Mediterranean, Africa, and India, demonstrating Berenice's importance as a trading port. The papyri were found on the western outskirts of Berenice in a unique zoological cemetery where numerous islands were also found, fragments of texts on ceramics. These finds shed light on the presence of Roman legionaries in Egypt and the importance of Berenice in the ancient Roman trade network. There's madness in his eyes. During excavations in Herculaneum, a city destroyed by the eruption of Vesuvius in 79 AD, an ancient bronze bust of the Roman Emperor Caligula was found. The 12-centimeter high bust was discovered in the 17th century, but its trace was later lost for almost 200 years. Experts believe that the bust was cast shortly before or after Caligula's death, about 2,000 years ago. The bust of Caligula depicts him with a high forehead, thin lips, a small mouth, and a prominent chin. The eyes of the sculpture unmistakably convey the madness that is often associated with this emperor. Caligula, the third representative of the Julio-Claudian dynasty, is known for his riotous lifestyle and incest. He was killed in 41 AD as a result of a palace coup. After its initial discovery, the bust was given as a gift to the famous English writer and politician Horace Walpole. Walpole admired the expressiveness of Caligula's face, believing that the emperor was captured at the beginning of his madness. The bust was kept in Walpole's mansion, Strawberry Hill House, and after his death passed through hands until it disappeared for 200 years. The bust was recently rediscovered by Oxford University historian Sylvia Davoli, calling the event fascinating.
Each object found helps to better understand the life of the ancient Romans. The bust of Caligula is an important archaeological find that sheds light on Roman history and culture.
Large-scale horse burials. French archaeologists recently made a surprising discovery in Villiers-sur-Indre, discovering 9 large burials containing the remains of horses that lived about 2,000 years ago. The burials contain 28 horses, carefully placed on their right sides with their heads facing south. The remains of 2 dogs were found nearby with their heads facing west. These finds date back to the period of the Gallic Wars, approximately between 100 BC and 100 AD, when Julius Caesar was actively engaged in military operations. The burials attracted the attention of archaeologists for their features. The horses, only 1.2 meters tall, were typical of Gallic breeds. The method of their burial was similar to those previously found in other regions of France, indicating a possible ritual or ceremonial nature. Interestingly, all the horses found were adults, which rules out common diseases as the cause of their death. Scientists from France's National Institute for Preventive Archaeological Research are analyzing the bones to determine whether the horses died in battle or were part of an elaborate ritual. To solve the mystery, researchers took DNA samples from the bones and surrounding sediments to determine whether the horses were Gallic or used by Roman units.
Ruins of an American hospital in France. Archaeologists have discovered the ruins of an American military hospital in Gagnery-du-Tertre, the commune of Savenay in northwestern France. This medical facility was built to prevent American soldiers from being dependent on French hospitals. During World War I, several hundred of these hospitals were built across the country, ranging from field hospitals to large complexes, capable of treating up to 25,000 wounded and sick. The excavations found medical vials, combs, buttons, a smoking pipe, a medical clip, a razor, a watch case, cups, and shoes. These artifacts provide insight into daily life in the hospital. The hospitals were strategically located near the ports of Nantes and Saint-Nazaire, close to the main railway lines. American hospital complexes functioned as self-contained cities with their own sewerage and water supplies. Some even had their own railway connections. The excavation site was divided into 2 parts. One was a fenced area to protect the hospital, the other was 20 pits with construction waste and artifacts. If you want to learn more about ancient artifacts and events in our history, then be sure to subscribe to the channel and tell your friends about us. Thanks for your views. Bye everyone.